let's get into it, shall we? Week 13 of the 2023 fantasy football season. Greetings and salutations, everyone. My name is Andrew Kirchhoff, and welcome to my YouTube channel. For the next 3 consecutive hours, I'll be answering questions in regards to our Week 13 lineups. As you guys can see to the right side of the screen, we have rankings available, updated as of this morning for a half PPR scoring format, 4-point per passing touchdown for my top 36 running backs, wide receivers, top 16 quarterback and tight ends. Welcome. Hope you guys are doing wonderful on this beautiful Thursday. I was about to say Thursday, Sunday morning. You see, the brain is already scrambled, but all is well. Couple reminders before we continue on in regards to answering questions. If you're going to send in a question via Super Chat or via the chat live stream, do me a solid and, of course, mention your scoring format. That makes a huge difference in regards to the entire complexity and all the variables that we talk about over the course of the week, whether it's a standard, half PPR, full PPR, if you get a point per carry, point per completion, all that kind of context absolutely helps in the long run. So do me a solid and kind of include that information whenever you type in a question. On top of it, for those of you guys who are Patreon members and support in that regard, rankings have already been posted in regards to flex, all those kind of rankings. For those of you guys who have signed up via Underdog Fantasy since August 1st of 2023 till yesterday prior to midnight, those rankings were sent out, I think, around 2:30 to 2:40 a.m. this morning. So be sure to go ahead and check those out. The Underdog email that is associated with your account, I would have already sent an email to it. So be sure to check your spam folder if it's not already in your main folder. Greatly appreciate it. Thank you very much. And also, as per usual, do me a solid. Click the like button down below. Thank you very much. I appreciate it, guys. Okay, so in comparison to yesterday, there are some adjustments that I've made. There are some things that I've gone back on. There are some things that I've adjusted, at a pretty fine rate. Like there's the idea of yesterday, I talked about Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua moving down in comparison to where I had them on Wednesday. I just moved them back. I mean, the Denzel Ward injury and my fear of them potentially having a great game, or at least a solid enough game to where they're fantasy relevant, scares me in terms of moving them down. But either way, I digress. Let's go ahead and let's start answering questions, and then we'll get into this, shall we? Beginning with our first question sent in via Super Chat, we have the Ocho. Thank you very much, Ocho. Appreciate it, man. Says, in a half PPR scoring format, I need one wide receiver and one flex for today. We have Olave, we have Kirk, we have Down. So, as of, I would probably say, earlier this morning, we were given an indication that Olave is expected to play today. So, if he's cleared concussion protocol, fantastic. He's an automatic start at a top 12 capacity. That would be obviously the wide receiver one that I would suggest in this circumstance that you should play, Ocho. As for the follow-up there between Christian Kirk and Josh Downs, I think Christian Kirk and Josh Downs, both of them really have advantageous matchups. If I was going to prefer one over the other, again, like you guys can see on screen, the rankings on screen are for a half PPR scoring format. I have Christian Kirk, if I'm not mistaken, where is he? He's number 25, Josh Downs number 26, back-to-back. I'll take Christian Kirk in that circumstance ahead of Down. So Olave and Kirk. Thank you very much, Ocho. Appreciate it. I saw a couple questions in the live chat. Let's see here. Where are some of these questions? Daniel was saying in a standard scoring format, Gibbs, Waddle, Dell. At that point, I'd probably take Gibbs and Waddle. Daniel. All right, let's see here. There was another super chat sent in from Ernie22. Ernie, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Says, full PPR. Start 2. Kyron Williams, David Montgomery, Tank Dell. Thanks, Andrew. All right, cool. So let's go ahead. Let's go to my full PPR flex rankings. Scroll this over. I know that Kyron Williams out of the 3 is for sure the start. It's now just a matter of, do I have Tank Dell ahead of David Montgomery in this circumstance, which I in fact do. So that would be the play. Tank Dell, Kyron Williams. Thank you very much. Appreciate it, Ernie. Thank you. Let's see here. Eric in the chat was saying, drop Dowdle to add Flacco. May need him for week 14 bye with Dobbs' job in the air. I don't know if the interview that Kevin O'Connell gave was more of a, hey, we're going to move away from Dobbs. I think he was just kind of answering the question of like, oh, yes, we do have talented quarterbacks. And he didn't want to diminish their potential because, again, there's always a competition, open at, valuable positions like that. But, I guess you could. If you have Tony Pollard, I think you should hold on to Dowdle for as long as you can, just in case. But yeah, if you're definitely in need of a quarterback and need to just ensure that for next week, I don't mind it. But yeah, if you have Pollard, probably keep that, Eric. All right, scrolling down here, another question that was sent in via Super Chat. We have Old Jay running. Jay, thank you very much. Appreciate it. It says PPR, pick 2. We have Brees Hall, we have Garrett Wilson, we have Puka Nacua, and Tank Dell. All right. So in a PPR scoring format, Tank Dell would be the first and foremost. I do expect him to play today. He's already said that he is going to play. And we've already heard on multiple occasions already throughout the course of this week, going back to Monday, Tuesday, and even most recently Friday, from head coach of the Houston Texans, D'Amico Ryans. He has said that, yes, Tank Dell is going to play. We're not worried about him. He'll be fine. They just wanted to go ahead and make sure that he was limited to practice just to ensure that there wasn't any, re-aggravation of that calf injury. So good to go. As to follow up with Tank Dell in a full PPR capacity, let's see where I have Brees Hall and Puka Nacua. Let's see if Puka is there. I have Brees Hall ahead of him, and I have Brees Hall ahead of Garrett Wilson as well. So I'll take Hall, and I will take Dell there. Thank you very much, Old Jay. Appreciate it. Let's see here. Davila says flex, Puka, or Achane in a half PPR. Because again, you didn't mention your scoring format in the question, so I'll just assume it's a half PPR. I have Achane ahead of Puka. Thank you. Let's see here. Scrolling down, we had a question that came in from Trojan 3659. Trojan, thank you very much. Says in a half PPR, Herbert, Kyler, or Russ. 4-point per passing touchdown. Yeah, so the half PPR doesn't matter. It's just a matter of the 4-point per passing touchdown format. Between the three of them, as you can see on screen, to the bottom, it's the middle of the screen pretty much. I have Justin Herbert at 7, I have Kyler at 9, and I have Russell Wilson at 11. So I'd go as such. Justin Herbert would be the start for me today against the New England Patriots. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. I know that many of you have already asked. I've seen a couple that says in regards to where are the kicker and defensive rankings. If we can get to, how many of us are in here? About 550 already. Welcome. Good morning. Hope you guys are doing well. If we can get to like 350 likes, that'd be a solid number. I'd be more than happy to change the graphic on screen and share top 12 kickers and defenses. Thank you very much, guys, in advance. Thank you. Let's see here. Someone says, where's T. Higgins? T. Higgins is on my bench this week. Jake Browning is going to need to improve greatly in comparison to what he produced last week. I know they take on the Jacksonville Jaguars, and that secondary is certainly going to have to be a passing funnel, considering how great their run-stop defense is over the course of this season, and specifically since week 5. Of course, the best run-stopping defense against the running back position since then. But yeah, he'll need to probably prove it. Jake Browning will probably need to have to prove to me that not only can he get incorporation of Jamar Chase within the overall offense, but also T. Higgins within one singular week before I can trust starting him at a top 36 capacity. All right, let's see here. We had a question that came in from after Trojan. We had Nathan Salazar. Nathan, thank you very much. Appreciate it. It says pick one, wide receiver, one flex. We have Achane, Puka, McLaurin, full PPR. All right, so let's see. In a full PPR capacity, where do I have these players as such? So Puka Nacua is there. Terry McLaurin is there. And where is Achane? Okay, so I have Puka and I have Terry McLaurin both ahead of Achane in a full PPR capacity. But Achane would probably be, if I'm not mistaken, ahead of both of them in a half PPR. Yes, he's ahead of both of them in a half PPR. Thank you very much for your question, Nathan. So if I'm starting two of those options, Puka and McLaurin, thank you. Moving on to a question that came in from Cardiac Johnson, who says full PPR, one flex, Downs, Taysom, Ford, Brian Robinson Jr. My opponent has Metcalf, Dak, and Charbonnet and Aubrey. I need a miracle. Yeah, you absolutely need a miracle because they went nuclear. Full PPR flex between this group. I don't really want to play Taysom Hill here, honestly. Like, if I could get a guarantee that Taysom Hill is going to score a touchdown, fantastic, right? But it just feels like it's such a 50-50 that he needs to score, that rushing touchdown early within a game for them to trust to continue to give him more carries, to continue to stack it on. I don't know if that's going to take place. As for Ford, Downs, and Brian Robinson, let's see where I have them ranked accordingly. Let's see where I have Downs, because I feel like he could very easily be the top prospect of the bunch. Okay, so there's Taysom, there's Downs. Where the heck do I have Ford in the group? And then where the heck do I have, who's the final option? Brian Robinson Jr. Yeah, I don't like Brian Robinson as much as I like Ford. So out of the bunch in a full PPR, I'd probably end up playing Jerome Ford today. I go Ford, Downs, probably Brian Robinson, then Taysom in that order. Ford, Downs, B-Rob, Taysom. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Zach Thomas sends in a question. Says Achane or Garrett Wilson half PPR flex. I take Achane there. It's a risk. Don't get it twisted. It's absolutely a risk. But when I think of, okay, Garrett Wilson last week, in order to be fantasy relevant, had to score a touchdown. And the likelihood of him consistently doing that over the course of the season isn't relatively high. I don't really trust Tim Boyle as a starting quarterback, much less the quarterback that's associated with, my fantasy wide receiver. Yeah, in this circumstance, even with a low workload of opportunity, even if Achane only gets himself like 8 or 9, 10 touches at the running back position, I still probably take him in a half PPR over him. If it was a full PPR, I would just take Garrett Wilson at that point. Thank you. All right, let's see here. Again, for those of you who are just filing in as of this morning, welcome. Good morning. Hope you guys are doing well. The rankings to the right side of the screen should determine, or at least give you an indication as to where I'm going in a half PPR scoring format. So I did see a couple people ask, like, do I play Nico Collins or do I play Calvin Ridley? Again, the rankings to the right side of the screen should be able to determine that. Be sure to keep an eye on those. Thank you very much. Again, like I mentioned earlier, if we can get to 350 likes on the live stream, I'd be more than happy to share kicker and defensive rankings going into today. Thank you very much, guys. Appreciate it. All right, let's see here. Powerhouse sends in a question. Powerhouse says the following. Help, in a half PPR, I have Taysom Hill or McBride at my tight end position. Yeah, again, rankings on screen. I have Taysom Hill as my number 8. I have Trey McBride as my number 4. That's the way I would approach it, playing Trey McBride over him as he's ranked higher. Thank you. Let's see here. Chris in the live chat was saying David Montgomery or Calvin Ridley. At this point, I'd probably just play David Montgomery. Each of the last 3 games, even with a full expansion of opportunity and, a guy like Jahmyr Gibbs playing 60 to 70% of the snaps every single one of those games, we have still seen David Montgomery get himself 15 fantasy points per game minimum across the board. I feel like it's just a solid option there. Now, I don't know what your scoring format is, but considering you didn't mention it, I would assume we're just talking about half PPR. Let's see here. What else we have here? What is that question? Why do I rank Tua above Kyler rushing upside? Yeah, rushing upside's great, but he doesn't have that, he's not going to get yardage. The only rushing upside that Kyler has as of right now is rushing touchdown upside near the goal line. Outside of that, we have Tua against not only the best matchup at the quarterback position, they're allowing 21.77 fantasy points per game in terms of passing statistics isolated. It's also the 3rd best wide receiver matchup on top of that. And we know how elite his wide receivers are. So he really is not going to have to do much for those guys to have a dominant performance and, of course, elevate his play within the given game. So Tua is just such a solid play in comparison to having to hope that Kyler's able to find the end zone with his legs in order to get that 6-point influx. There's a question. Let's see here. Cassie says, full PPR, must-win game flex Dortch or Noah Brown? Yeah, I'd play Greg Dortch there. Whether or not Marquise Hollywood Brown is active, I'm still playing Dortch. I have him ranked currently on screen under the assumption that, of course, Marquise Hollywood Brown plays because he's on screen. Keep that in mind. Marquise Hollywood Brown is ranked on screen. So is Chris Godwin. These are under the assumptions that these 2 guys play specifically. If, in fact, they are not going to play today, I will adjust the rankings accordingly to move up, Mike Evans and, of course, guys like Greg Dortch accordingly. But, it's still early in the morning, 7:15 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 10 Eastern. So once we get closer to kickoff and we have an indication as to whether those guys are playing, then we'll go ahead and continue. But for right now, I'd go with Dortch there. Okay. Bale Kim in the chat sends in a super chat. Thank you very much, Bale. Appreciate it. Says full PPR, flex 1, Singletary, Amari Cooper, or Pat Freiermuth. Okay, let's see here. Singletary, Amari Cooper, Pat Freiermuth. So let's go to full PPR. Where do I have Singletary out of this bunch? Singletary's at 49. Cooper, where are you? Amari, not Cooper Cup. Amari Cooper is there, and then where's Pat Freiermuth? I have Singletary ahead of the bunch. I have it in order of Singletary 1, Cooper 2, Freiermuth 3 in a full PPR. Thank you very much, Bale. Appreciate it. Moving on, we had Alex Songrass sending the question. Thank you, Alex. Appreciate it. Alex says in a full PPR, start 2, Ridley, Puka, Henry. Tight end premium. Okay, so it's 1.5 per reception, I'm assuming. Hill or Freiermuth. If it's 1.5 points per reception, tight end premium, I would play Pat Freiermuth there. Even in a full PPR, I'd rather just play Pat Freiermuth because it's very difficult to go off of a week in which he had 11 targets and he's going to get a huge, dip. I don't think that'll take place. I think the Arizona Cardinals, they played pretty well against tight ends. I know last week they gave up 2 touchdowns, but that was just a matter of the Rams wanting to specifically get utilization out of Higbee in a couple of the overall schemes that they ran there, pretty much opening them up on purpose. But as for your prior question, Alex, starting two in a full PPR. Ridley, Puka, Henry. I'd play Calvin Ridley and Derrick Henry there. So yeah, again, Ridley, Henry, Fryermuth. Thank you very much, Alex. Have a good one, man. Let's see here. Let's scroll back up. That got updated. Here we go. Going back. We had a question that came in from Gung Ho Joe, who says Dell or Henry half PPR. Let's see where I have them ranked. We have Henry. Derrick Henry is there. I have Derrick Henry ahead of Tank Dell in a half PPR scoring format. Gung Ho Joe, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Let's see here. There's a question in the chat from you, Rosa, who says full PPR. Rice, Collins, Downs, and Terry sit two. If I'm sitting two out of the four, I'd probably end up sitting. I'd probably end up sitting Rice and Downs. Let me check where I have them ranked as my full PPR wide receivers. Downs is there. McLaurin is there. Rice is there. Where's Rice? Where the heck did Rice go? Rice is there. Yeah, so it would be McLaurin and Collins who get the start for me. All right, question that came in from ATG9HD. Thank you very much. Appreciate the super chat. It says half PPR. Start Hollywood Brown, who's questionable, or Josh Downs. If Hollywood Brown is active today, which we'll know before the end of this live stream, I'm 100% in on playing him. I think he just has significantly higher upside in comparison to Josh Downs, who is primarily needs to catch the ball 6-7 times and needs to get a pretty good yardage count. Otherwise, the touchdown upside isn't as high. The big playability isn't as likely to be implicated there. Let's see here. Okay, a couple things to keep in mind, guys, as we continue. There are going to be a couple games today that are definitely, going to be potential weather concerns. The first one being the Patriots game against the Chargers. Again, besides, Keenan Allen, outside of him, Austin Eckler, Ramondre Stevenson, we're firing up all those guys. Outside of that, Justin Herbert could be, a question. We'll have to keep that weather monitored because I did read that someone asked, is there any weather, concerns for today? I think that's the primary one. Outside of that, it's also the Jets game that we have to keep an eye on. But, we're not starting any of those overall quarterbacks in that scenario. We're just primarily looking for Breece Hall, Bijan Robinson as the main benefactors of that game. So that's the only things as of right now we have to keep monitored. Appreciate it, guys. Thank you. All right, let's see here. We had a question that came in from Skills All Day, who says Dell, Collins, Rice, Downs, Judy, pick two, PPR. Yeah, half PPR. Okay. Dell and Collins. I mean, that's the 1-2 combo that I want to trust. Primarily because I trust CJ Stroud to be, even in a difficult matchup, to be a pretty relevant fantasy quarterback. So even though they're taking on the Broncos have not allowed very many stats to opposing quarterbacks as of late. They've been on a little bit of a win streak here, and of course playing well as a defense and a secondary. I'm still going to suggest playing Dell and Collins there out of the 5. Thank you very much, Skills. Appreciate it. Aiden Johnson had a question. He says, PPR, I need a wide receiver 2 and a flex and an RB2. We have Hall, Pacheco, Dell, Evans, and Michael Pittman Jr. All right, so in a full PPR scoring format, Michael Pittman Jr. and Mike Evans are my 2 highest ranked as of those wide receivers. And I have Pacheco, if I'm not mistaken, higher ranked, yes, than Breece Hall. I like Breece Hall's potential in a full PPR. Of course, if in fact he catches the ball a considerable amount of times, great. But we already know that going into today, Jerick McKinnon is going to be out for another consecutive game. That only elevates the potential of Pacheco getting himself receiving utilization. So my suggestion as for this overall display of players, Aiden Johnson, would be Pacheco as the RB2, Evans as the wide receiver 2, and Michael Pittman Jr. as the flex today. Thank you. Hunter in the chat was asking Olave or Debo. I have Olave ranked as my number, at least in a half PPR. And I think in a full PPR, I'd probably go the same. I think the only instance in which I wouldn't start Olave over Debo this week would probably be in a standard scoring format, 0 points per reception. But yeah, for right now, I have Olave at 10 and Debo at 11, both fantastic plays at a top 12 capacity. All right, let's see here. We had a question that came in from Cassie, who says, okay, so we answered this earlier. So we answered it in the chat, but you sent in the super chat anyway. I appreciate it, Cassie. Yeah, so in a full PPR, I'll take Greg Dortch there over Noah Brown. As of right now, I think I have Noah Brown ranked as my, in a full PPR, he's ranked as my number 38 wide receiver. Yeah, number 38 wide receiver, assuming Chris Godwin plays, otherwise 37. So, Yeah, I mean, he's a solid play, but Greg Dortch just been far too much opportunity going in his direction in the absence of Michael Wilson over the course of the last 2 games. You know, the update that I saw earlier today that I'm reading once again is that Ian Rappaport of the NFL Network said that Jonathan Taylor's injury could be 3 to 5 weeks. The ridiculousness of that, of Zach Moss potentially being like the season-winning running back is just absolutely crazy. But it's happening, man. JD sends in a question. Thank you very much, JD. Says the Muth over Njoku, question mark. Muth over Hopkins, Deontay. Let me see if I have Muth over Hopkins, Deontay. I don't know what your scoring format is, but I'm going to assume it's a half PPR. All right, so I have Muth there. I have him over. Yes, I have him over Hopkins and Deontay in a half PPR. Am I playing him over Njoku? Probably not, no. But I do have him over those two alternative options that you mentioned. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, so for those of you who are joining us this morning and you're potentially not watching an ad because YouTube just spammed an ad in between the live stream and I can see the notification. For those of you guys who are just joining us this morning, welcome. Hope you guys are doing well. Again, couple reminders. The rankings to the right side of the screen are updated as of this morning. These are not rankings from earlier this week. These rankings do not include players that have already played, like the Dallas Cowboys and, of course, Seattle Seahawks players. These are just all the remaining players that, if in fact I was to start them interpositionally, this is how I would approach it going into today's games and, of course, Monday's experience. Keep in mind that if you are a Patreon member, rankings were already posted earlier this morning. Same thing with those of you who have signed up via Underdog Fantasy, using code Andrew and making that first-time deposit minimum of $10 from August 1st of 2023 till yesterday prior to midnight. Those rankings were sent to your email associated with your Underdog account, so be sure to check that. Be sure to also check your spam folder in case it didn't, end up in your regular email inbox. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Okay. So let's scroll down here. We had a question in the chat. Let's see here. Steelers or Bucks? Yes. Okay. So for defensive questions, as soon as we get to 350 likes on the live stream, I'll go ahead and I'll transition the rankings on screen to kicker and defense. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. JD said full PPR. Okay. Let me check the rankings in that case, JD. If I go to full PPR, where do I have it as such now? Let's see. Where do I? Okay. So if I go full PPR, boom, boom. Yeah, in a full PPR, I'll still take Muth there. Thank you. Appreciate it, JD. Moving on from a question from Mr. Noodle, who says, what does it say? In one league, pick one. Okay. Higgins or Dortch? Yeah, I'd rather play Dortch today. Another league, pick two, Moss, Ford, Brian Robinson Jr., or Singletary. Out of that group, Moss and Ford would be the 1-2 combo. Assuming it's like yeah, I mean, I don't know what your scoring format is. It wasn't mentioned within the question, but I mean, let's see here. Let's say, for example, it's a half PPR. I'd probably go with Moss and Singletary. If it's a full PPR, I'd go with Moss and Ford. I think there's just more receiving upside with Joe Flacco implicated within that Cleveland Browns offense for right now. But yeah, we'll approach it as such. Dortch for the first question. Moss Ford full PPR, Moss Singletary half PPR. Thank you, appreciate it. Orlando sends in a question, says full PPR, one running back, one flex. We have Etienne, who's questionable for Monday night, Singletary, and Achane. Also, Browns, Chargers, or Rams. Okay, so let's answer the defensive question first and foremost. Browns, Chargers, Rams. So of those options, I have the Chargers as my number 5 defense, taking on New England, Bailey Zappi. I'd probably end up suggesting that first and foremost. So that's the defense that I'd end up playing today. As for the prior question, Etienne, Singletary, Achane, my assumption is that Etienne will absolutely play by tomorrow. Obviously, he's been limited all week, but the fact that he plays on a Monday, has an extra day of rest with that rib injury, certainly does bode well for him. So in this circumstance, Etienne's got to play as the RB1. As for Singletary and Achane, I'd like to wait and see what Achane's workload looks like in comparison to Singletary, because I think Singletary, in one of the more advantageous matchups against the defense that's allowing over 5 yards per carry to opposing running backs rushing attempts since week 5, I think Singletary would be a player that I'd be, I'd have a tough time sitting him in comparison to Achane, especially with, Achane still coming off that injury. So for right now, I'll take Singletary and Etienne there. Thank you, Orlando. Appreciate it. Let's see here. Connor Smith in the chat, thank you very much, says, start Warren or Achane as my RB2 full PPR. I'd rather play Jalen Warren there. Thank you very much. I see a bug on my wall that is crawling. I don't know how it got there. I'd like to kill it, but I can't reach it. It's moving though. I might throw something at it, but then it might crash the entire set. Should I risk it, guys? Should I send it all? All right, let's see here. We had another question from Cole, who sends in a question. Says, this is Cole Postal, who says, do I flex Zach Moss, ETN? I got to keep an eye on that bug. Devontae Smith or Debo Samuel, pick two. In a half PPR scoring format, I'd just play both those running backs, Zach Moss and ETN. Keeping an eye on that thing. I got a side eye on it. In a full PPR, I'd similarly have a tough time not starting both those running backs. So I just take Moss and I take ETN and I fire them both up. I think Devonta Smith and Debo Samuel are both incredible plays, but the volume of opportunity and the goal line work that we anticipate to see from ETN and Zach Moss, considering how advantageous those matchups are, it's tough not to trust them this week. Thank you. Let's see here. We had a question that came in from Vowed on Film. Vowed, thank you very much. It says, sup, Andrew. In a full PPR, do I flex Puka Nacua, Breece Hall, Josh Downs, or Jaden Reed? All right, let's see here. Who I have ranked the highest out of the bunch. Let's go full PPR, Control F, Puka. So Puka's there. I have Breece Hall ahead of him. And then the alternative options you were mentioning were Downs and Jaden Reed. I do not have either of those ahead of Hall either, so I'd go with Breece Hall out of the bunch. Thank you. Greatly appreciate it. Moving on to Kenny Fox, who has a question. Thank you very much, Kenny. Kenny's question is as such. Tua or Brock Purdy at my quarterback position, Javonte Williams or Hollywood Brown in the flex full PPR. Thank you. All right, so of those options, yeah, I'm taking Tua over Brock Purdy. I think they're both really great plays. This thing's moving now. I'm seeing it move. Dude, I think I'm gonna go for it. Oh man. No, I can't. Too much of a risk. Okay. It's a big ass bug, dude. I don't want to leave it alone. I really wanted. All right. Anyway, I needed to just leave my site so that actually no. If it leaves my site, then all right. Give me a second, guys. Just half a second here. Okay. Let me see if I can one tap this thing real quick. Oh my god! Got out of the way. Oh no! It's gone now. I missed it. I missed my window of opportunity. Okay. I sold the bag. I missed the window of opportunity. It's out of my sight now. Oh man. Okay. Now the rest of the stream's cooked. Okay, getting back to answering questions. A disaster. Yeah, I'll take Tua over Brock Purdy. Again, playing against Washington is just like a free matchup there. In comparison to having to deal with the Philly matchup, even though it's a really advantageous one, I'll just take Tua in this circumstance, considering it just seems like it's a free play there for him to find success. As for Javonte Williams and Hollywood Brown, under the assumption that, of course, Hollywood Brown plays, which that is my assumption, he should be a pretty solid option. As for the comparison between the two in terms of my rankings, yeah, I have Marquise Brown ahead of Javonte Williams, full PPR capacity, assuming he plays, of course. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Again, for those of you who are, rolling in this morning, welcome. Good morning. I was trying to kill a bug on my wall, and now it's out of sight, and I lost my opportunity. It is what it is. If you guys want to go ahead and see kicker and defensive rankings, do me a solid. Help us get over 350 likes. I'm going to actually pull up my own live stream just to click the button because I want to share the kicker and defensive rankings because why not? So do me a solid. Click that button. Appreciate it. Click that. I'm 299. Let's just put that into perspective. Okay, let's scroll back. Let's see here. After Kenny, we had a question that came in from Arda. Arda, thank you very much. All right, Arda says, hey boss, start 2, standard league, Kyren Williams, Olave, Montgomery, Smith. In a standard league, 0 points per reception, I'll take both running backs. Give me Kyren Williams, David Montgomery. Thank you. Let's see here. AJ says, 2 flex, pick 2, Godwin, Reed, Rice. Yeah, under the assumption that Godwin plays, I'd rather play Rashee Rice and Jaden Reed both ahead of him. I don't even know if he's going to play, but I know he's dealing with a neck injury. I'm worried about the potential of this injury re-aggravating within the game, but I also can understand that he could have himself a pretty solid game overall, especially with the comments that we heard earlier this week from the offensive coordinator of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Dave Canales. He said, like, hey, I know that as of late, it's been a Mike Evans, Rashad White kind of offense, and we've seen far more, utilization out of Cade Otton than Chris Godwin. We want to get him more, looks going forward. If he's healthy, he'll get more looks today, hopefully. But as of right now, uncertain as to whether he plays. But even if he does, I think you have 2 better alternative options with Reed and Rice. Thank you. Moving on, we had a question that came in from Nanette Peters. Nanette Peters. Yeah. I was about to say, did I mispronounce that? I mean, if I butchered the name, apologies first and foremost. But Let's get to answering this question. PPR, need one wide receiver, one flex. Christian Watson. Okay, here we go. Christian Watson, Trey McBride, Curtis Samuel. In a full PPR, yeah, I'd probably end up playing McBride. Do I have Curtis Samuel ahead of Christian Watson? I think I do in a full PPR. Let me check this. Full PPR, wide receiver. Yeah, I have Curtis Samuel and Trey McBride both ahead of Christian Watson, full PPR capacity today. Thank you. Appreciate it. Moving on to Get Knowledge, who says full PPR. I need 2 running backs and a flex. What does it say? What does that even mean? I don't know if the autocorrect of your system like bugged out. I see David M, who I'm assuming is David Montgomery, but I see you say 2 running backs, Austin K, which I'm assuming is supposed to be Austin E as in Austin Eckler. So full PPR need 2 running backs, Austin and a flex. Austin Eckler and David Montgomery are starting, Olave or Hopkins. I'm assuming that's your question. Get Knowledge. It was a little bit cluttered, but I think I've deciphered it. Austin Eckler, David Montgomery's already starting. Olave or Hopkins, I'll play Olave there. Thank you, appreciate it. Moving on to Lawrence, who sends in a question. Thank you very much, Lawrence. Who says, full PPR, flex Devontae Smith or Pacheco. In a full PPR, oh damn, that's a good one. Okay, let's see here. Devontae Smith probably ends up getting the play there in that circumstance. Let me just confirm this. Devontae Smith. Yeah, I have Devontae Smith as my number 24 in a full PPR. Pacheco is ranked as my number 27 of remaining players. Slightly ahead of him, but he is nonetheless ahead of him. Thank you. We just surpassed 350 likes. Thank you very much. Appreciate it, guys. Those are my kicker and defensive rankings. I'll switch back to tight end and quarterback in just a moment. Let's answer a question that came in from Anthony Barrett. Thank you, Anthony, who says, Deontay Johnson or Christian Watson in a full PPR? I have, let's see here, full PPR. Let's scroll over my... We have Deontay Johnson ahead of Christian Watson in a full PPR today. Thank you. Appreciate it, Anthony. Cameron Kaplan sends in a question, says, full PPR flex, Devontae Smith or Achane. Hard to bench Achane. I think in this circumstance, it's not. I think Devontae Smith is kind of I think it's difficult to sit Devontae Smith in this circumstance. I understand that Achane has the potential, but what Devontae Smith's been able to accomplish in the last 2 games in the absence of Dallas Goedert, and what he's been able to accomplish over the last 7 games of his career without Dallas Goedert, I mean, it lends him to being the starting option here. Far too much consistency and production. He's never had a game of less than 8 targets with Dallas Goedert, absent 2022, 2023. On top of that, earlier this morning, I found that on Underdog Fantasy, I think they have him at 6.5 targets as his number. I took that higher, like instantly. Let me confirm if that's actually still the number. Let me go here. Devontae Smith. His number's at 7 now. He's never had less than 8 targets in the absence of Dallas Goedert. I'll take higher on Devontae Smith, 7.0 targets today against the 49ers. So keep that in mind, guys. Another great play. Sam Howell higher on his passing attempts. Michael Pittman Jr. higher on his receptions. Check those out. Thank you. All right. Moving down from Cameron Kaplan's question, who, yes, again, we're playing Devontae there. At least that's my suggestion. You want to play HM? That's you're the GM of your team. You make the final decisions. I'm just here to help if I can. Charles R. sends in a question, says, half PPR, 1 running back, 1 super flex. Okay. Bijan, Moss, Kamara, Kyler Murray, Tank Dell, Waddle. Oh my goodness. Okay. So here's my assumption. Kyler Murray, the way at least where my projection model has him out, I'm thinking he scores somewhere between 17 to 20 points, right? Can we get half PPR production out of these alternative running back options that potentially have as much or even more potential upside? Or even, I mean, Waddle could end up putting up 20 points very easily. In this circumstance, I probably end up playing Bijan and Moss. I think Murray's probably a safer option for points, but I think that the upside... Oh, man. It's not impossible for Murray to come out and throw 3 touchdowns. I just don't know how likely it is that it'll take place today against Pittsburgh, of all defense in Pittsburgh. I'll play Bijan and Moss there. Charles R. Thank you, man. All right. Flo says, is Ridley high because Zay Jones is healthy or he's simply a beast? I think both of them they're not mutually exclusive. I think they can both coexist and still be true, right? Like Ridley's getting, I mean, Ridley dropped a touchdown last week, guys. I don't know if for those of you who are Calvin Ridley managers, you realize that. He dropped a wide open touchdown that went through his fingertips in the end zone. And it was a perfect ball from Trevor Lawrence last week. As for the Zay Jones influence, I mean, I think it's a coincidence more than anything, but hey, I'll take it. I'll take it. All right, Torrin Davis sends in a question via super chat. Thank you, Torrin. Says full PPR, two running backs, one flex. We have Eckler, Moss, Stevenson, Hall, Swift, Ridley. Okay, Eckler, Moss, Stevenson, Hall, Swift, Ridley. So basically, I got to figure out, do I want to play Stevenson or Ridley? Because Eckler and Moss are pretty much the automatics there in that circumstance. If I go to full PPR, I go Stevenson. I have Ramondre Stevenson. Ooh, I got him 2 spots below Calvin Ridley today. Just barely. 18 versus 20 in a full PPR. Otherwise, I do have Eckler and Moss as the 2 other starting options. So Eckler and Moss are my 2 primaries. It's a toss-up between Stevenson and Ridley. I have Ridley ahead of him, slightly ahead of him. Thank you. Damon Smith. Yeah, I know you've corrected me on this 100 times. Mr. Smith, we'll just hit it at that. Full PPR. Out of 3, which one would you start? London, Higgins, or Downs? In a full PPR, yeah, I'd much rather play Downs. London's got a little bit of a weather game implicated with him. Higgins has the backup quarterback. I trust Minshew, especially considering he targeted Downs 13 times last week in the games in which, of course, Josh Downs has played with a starting Minshew and has been healthy. He's getting himself, if I'm not mistaken, I think he's averaging about 11 half PPR fantasy points per game. In a full PPR, that probably elevates to about 13 and a half points. Yeah, there's just a lot of production and a lot of opportunity to be had, especially last time against the Tennessee Titans where Minshew was, I think it was week 5. Minshew and Anthony Richardson both played in that game. Downs had himself like 9 catches, if I'm not mistaken, or was it like 9 targets? Something of that extent. Either way, had like 12.7 half PPR fantasy points. Would have been like 15 points in a full PPR. That's the suggestion there, Mr. Smith. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, so now that I've gone ahead and shown quarterback kicker and defensive rankings for a while, we'll go back to quarterback and tight ends. Thank you very much. Drew Johnson sends in a question, says, full PPR, Kyler or Howell? Yeah, I'd rather just play Howell there. I'm expecting him to throw the ball 40 plus times today and for sure still be a relevant option in that circumstance. And hopefully able to get himself the garbage time points that he typically does. As for Deontay Johnson, Achane, or Hollywood Brown, as the follow-up question, if I'm going to be honest, if it's a full PPR, I'd probably end up playing Hollywood there if he's active. Do I go for the Cardinals stack or play Howell and Achane? I'm suggesting you do the split difference. I think you take Howell and you take Hollywood, and that's how you approach it. Because, yeah, that's how I would go about it. If you want to play a stack, you technically could. I mean, I have Howell and Kyler Murray back-to-back. I'd be more confident taking the stack than going the alternative. But for right now, my suggestion is Howell and Marquise Brown. Thank you. Appreciate it. I'm just looking for the most fantasy points. I'm not looking to try to stack and make it look better in that circumstance. I just want the most points possible. Appreciate it, guys. Thank you. All right. Scrolling back up, we had a next question that came in from Terry Perez. Thank you, Terry. He says, good morning. Full PPR, flex Chase, Warren, Rice. Okay, so between those 3, first and foremost, full PPR, I'm flexing Jalen Warren there. Follow-up question, quarterback Stroud or Murray? I'm playing Stroud there. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Moving on to Avery Strauss, who says, would you start that bug over Jerry Jeudy? Dude, that bug was elusive. I mean, like, I had an eye on him for a while, but as soon as I went to make a move, that thing disappeared so fast. I don't know where it is. I'm going to, like, literally after the stream, I'm going to pull apart this desk until I find him. Hopefully he makes my life easy. He comes out to taunt me again, but I don't know where he even came from. But I'd probably start the bug over Jerry Jeudy. That guy, he was moving. GV says, ETN with a questionable tag or Devon Achane full PPR? ETN with a questionable tag. If you have ETN on roster, please pick up D'Ernest Johnson for tomorrow just in case. Sin Like Flynn says, Puka, Thielen, or Kirk? Thanks as always. Between the 3 of them, I'll play Thielen. Thank you. Thielen full PPR, Puka half PPR. Again, you already know the rankings on screen are there. I'm just mentioning Thielen because you don't have that information. But if you need it, thank you. Appreciate it. All right. Ty sends in a question. Says, hi, Andrew. Full PPR. I need 2 out of Hollywood, Jaden Reed, Christian Watson, Dobbs, London, Chuba Hubbard. Okay, so the thing about Chuba Hubbard is he's not a terrible play today because both of the both the interior inside linebackers of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are out. There's no Levante David and there's no Devin White. Chuba Hubbard, Miles Sanders could be a better play today. Like I said earlier today or yesterday, as of the last couple of seasons, when head coaches get fired, there's a really good likelihood that the team that fired their head coach the week after typically finds themselves catching a dub. Now, if this is going to be the case today, Adam Thielen should probably have himself a monster game, but so should Chuba Hubbard. Nonetheless, I'm not expecting him to have the monster game. But of the available options you have in a full PPR capacity, assuming Hollywood Brown is active, I would play him. Alongside of him, I'd probably go with Jaden Reed there. Thank you very much, TY. Appreciate it. Moving on, a question that came in from G Medina, who says, half PPR, sit 2 running backs. I have the following. We have Bijan, Moss, Montgomery, Pacheco, Hunt, and ETN. Yeah, Kareem Hunt has to sit. And outside of Kareem Hunt sitting, I'd probably end up sitting Pacheco. I'd rather start ETN, Bijan, Moss, and Montgomery. Thank you very much. Appreciate it, G Medina. Short Bus Josh says, Chris Godwin or Christian Watson? I'd rather play Christian Watson there. Thank you. All right, we had a question from Boxo Card Productions. Hope you're doing well. Says, Hall or Amari Cooper in the flex? Hall's hammies worry me. Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a concern on top of the fact that he hasn't been playing well. Where do I don't know what your scoring format is. I'll probably just go look them both up just in case. But in comparison, that's where I have Hall. I think I have him higher in both circumstances. Yeah, I have him higher in both rankings. I don't want to go crazy with Amari Cooper's ranking, especially I still think that Joe Flacco is going to elevate his production to make him a pretty solid start. But yeah, for right now, I'm just being a little bit careful with it. I'd go with Hall there. V Guns says, full PPR, I need 2 running backs. Kamara, Bijan, Kyron Williams. Yeah, I'll take Kamara and Bijan Robinson in a full PPR. Thank you. Moving on to Omni Connoisseur, who says, hey, full PPR, would you start Thielen or Achane? I'm fairly certain I'm going Thielen there. Yeah, I have Thielen ahead of Achane as right now in a full PPR. Thank you. Soycar7 says, pick 2, Hopkins, Dillon, London, Curtis Samuel for full PPR. Yeah, if it's between the 4 of those, Curtis Samuel is my highest ranked. Let me see where I have Dillon in comparison to Hopkins. Dillon is 6. I have Hopkins ahead of him. So between the 4, I'd go with Curtis Samuel and DeAndre Hopkins. Soycar, thank you. Antonio Haskell says, DK, Kelsey, Mahomes, already locked in. Okay, sounds good. We got to fill in the rest of the team full PPR, 2 running backs, 1 wide receiver, 1 flex. We have Jay Williams. I don't know if Jay Williams is Jamal or Jameson, but I'm going to assume it's Jamal Williams considering you're mentioning him next to running backs. So if it's Jamal Williams, Pacheco, and Jalen Warren, Pacheco and Jalen Warren are obviously the starts. I understand that Jamal Williams has a revenge game against his former team. Jamal Williams would be lucky to get 5 rushing attempts today, to be honest. Moving beyond that question, as for your wide receiver, you have Downs, Hollywood, Pickens, Watson. I'd rather play Hollywood out of the bunch, and then I would flex Downs. So again, Pacheco, Warren, Hollywood, Downs. Thank you very much, Antonio. Appreciate it. Scrolling down, we had Steven Phillips, who says, full PPR, I need a flex between Puka and Swift. Who do I have ranked higher? Let's go Swift. I have Swift ahead of Puka Nacua today. Thank you. Appreciate it. In a full PPR. Barry Walters says, full PPR, Thielen or Chase? I'll take Thielen over Chase in a full PPR. Follow-up question, Najee Harris or Mixon? Najee Harris, 1,000%. I appreciate it. Thank you very much, Barry. Moving on to Robert S., who says, Cade Otton or Juwan Johnson. Between the two of them, Juwan Johnson, full PPR, half PPR. I have Juwan Johnson ahead of him. I think he'll get a little bit more utilization in the absence of Michael Thomas, Rashid Shaheed today. I know that A.T. Perry is going to be active. Again, even in... Here's the thing about A.T. Perry. He really has only produced with Jameis Winston. Like, Derek Carr could look in his direction more often. He's ran a lot of routes in the last couple weeks with Derek Carr. He hasn't gotten many targets there. So I think Juwan Johnson definitely takes a step forward in terms of his contributions to this offense today. So Juwan Johnson will be my suggestion there. As for your follow-up question, Godwin or Olave, because it says Olive. It says Godwin or Olive. I'm assuming it auto-corrected Olave to Olive. I would suggest playing Olave there. Thank you. All right, I'm going to go ahead and change the rankings on screen once again to kicker and defense for those of you guys who are interested in regards to that. Thank you very much. If you appreciate the rankings, do me a solid, click the like button. Thank you very much. All right, let's see here. After Robert S.'s question, we had Alex, who sends in a question. Alex Beauford. Where's Alex's question? Alex says, I have Eckler, Kamara, Moss, Kyron Williams. Pick 2 full PPR. All right, in a full PPR, I have Kamara as my second ranked running back. Who else do you have? You have Moss as well. Yeah, I'll take Kamara and Moss there out of those options. Thank you very much. Appreciate it, Alex. Moving on to another question. We have Antonio Haskell, who says full PPR, 2 running backs, 1 wide receiver, 1 flex. So yeah, same question as before. Pacheco, Warren, Hollywood, Downs. Thank you very much, Antonio. Gary Mandel says full PPR flex with definite rain in New England. Are you concerned with quad and travel to East Coast for Keenan Allen or Rachaad White? Ooh, that's a really good question. Okay. I think Rachaad White is such a solid play that there's no going wrong with him. I think that if at any point they're going to throw the ball today, as in Justin Herbert, if at any point he's going to throw the ball, I think Keenan Allen's probably going to catch himself 8-9 passes. I think it's kind of it's an automatic there. So if you're asking me if it's my fantasy team, if I would sit Keenan Allen for the potential of playing Rachaad White in case of the injury / weather, I don't know. Look, I have Keenan Allen as my number 3 in the flex. Like it goes Christian McCaffrey, Tyreek Hill, Keenan Allen on remaining players, and then I have Rachaad White as my number 13. They're 10 spots away from one another. They're a couple tiers away from one another, but yeah, if it's my team, I'm firing up Keenan Allen. If you're worried about it, you can fire up Rachaad White because you have an alternative option that is a fantastic play. But for right now, considering I don't know what that weather looks like, it could be rain, but it could be like unimpactful rain. It could be a quad injury, but you know he may be a fantastic play today. And I'm mainly afraid of not starting Keenan Allen and him getting himself 10 catches for 112 and 2 touchdowns. You know what I mean? Like those are the risks you have to play with. And at this point, I just fire him up. Joe Boggs sends in a question. Says, would you play Mostert over Ayuk in a half PPR? I'm fairly certain I would. If I check my rankings, I have Mostert as my 24 and I have Ayuk as 29. Yeah, I play Mostert over Ayuk in a half PPR. Thank you, Joe Boggs. Vlad sends in a question. Thank you, Vlad. Says the following. Justin Watson for Kansas City, Elijah Moore, or Greg Dortch? Play 1. Greg Dortch. If I was going to give you an order of the 3, I'd go Greg Dortch 1, Elijah Moore 2, Justin Watson 3. Thank you. Moving on. Jimmy Jesus says half PPR, Javonte or Puka? Javonte or Puka Nacua? Fairly certain I have Javonte Williams ahead of him. I do. Javonte Williams would be my suggestion there in a half PPR. Thank you. Moving on, JT has a question. Says, non-PPR, Minshew or Pickett? If I'm not mistaken, the rankings on screen will answer that. Let me go ahead and change them back real quick. We have Kenny Pickett as my number 15 and Gardner Minshew as my number 16. So I take Pickett there, but I think they're both fantastic plays in comparison to one another in a 4-point per passing, standard touchdown league. So yeah, I'd go with Pickett there. If Pickett, should I bench Chase for Johnson to stack it? No, I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't objectively stack it in that kind of circumstance. No, I'd still play Chase there. So I'd go Pickett and Chase. Thank you very much, JT. I appreciate it, man. Rockout says Juwan Johnson, Higbee, or Everett. Again, rankings on screen. Even in a full PPR, I'd still take Juwan Johnson over Higbee and Everett. Higbee had himself one good week for the whole season, and that was last week. Great. If he gets more utilization in the red zone, fantastic. We'd love to see it. It is a tough matchup against Cleveland. They're the best, defense against opposing tight ends this season. Everett, very much so touchdown dependent. I at least have an idea, like Juwan Johnson, even even if he doesn't score a touchdown, he'll have the higher volume of targets and receptions amongst the group, and of course receiving yards. So he's just a safer play within his base before we even, in a full PPR, before we even get into talking about touchdowns, which I even think he has a higher upside of touchdowns in comparison to the rest. Thank you. Corey Olson sends in a question, says, I have have kicker Elliott, no room to drop for Matt Gay. Thoughts? Yeah, I'd swap him. I mean, I would just drop Jake Elliott for Matt Gay. Like the consistency that Matt Gay has produced over the course of the last, I want to say what, like 7-8 weeks is kind of undeniable. They continue to utilize him at a pretty good capacity. He's very efficient with his overall opportunities, so it's kind of tough to pivot away from him in that capacity, especially when Jake Elliott, yes, last week had himself a clutch 8-9 yard field goal to push it into overtime. Still, again, not as much production as he typically should get, considering his consistency hasn't been there in comparison to like the first 5 weeks of the season. For the first 5 weeks of the season, the guy was averaging like 15 points per week. It was crazy, but yeah, he hasn't been there as of late. Also, I have Kincaid on bye. Picked up Juwan Johnson. Also starting Montgomery in the flex over Olave in a full PPR. Oh, okay, hold up. Wait. Before we get there, you're starting Montgomery over Olave in the flex in a full PPR. I don't have it as such. I have Olave ahead of him, but I don't mind playing Montgomery because he probably ends up scoring 16 points today. And if you're just looking for the safe points there, good to go. Juwan Johnson's a good replacement for Kincaid. Thank you, Corey. Appreciate it. Moving on to Andy's question, who says, in a half PPR, would you hate in capital letters, by the way, would you hate Downs over Hollywood? In a half PPR, I wouldn't hate it, but I wouldn't love it with capital letters, LOVE. I definitely wouldn't love it. Let's see here. Is there a new update? What does this say? Arizona Trey McBride, as previously indicated, he's playing and he's good to go. Okay, so where's my update on Marquise Hollywood Brown, though? There we go. Now we're starting now I'm starting to wonder. I don't see any updates on Marquise Brown. But anyway, if Marquise doesn't play, you play Downs. If he does play, I would like to start him in comparison in a half PPR. In a full PPR, I could in a full PPR, I wouldn't even mind playing Downs over Marquise Brown either. Actually, I'd feel far more comfortable in that scenario. Thank you, Andy. We had a question that came in from Evan, I believe. Let's see here. Where's Evan's question? Yes, Evan says, full PPR, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, 2 flex, and 1 tight end. Okay, so we got the whole lineup to start. We have Rachaad White, Ford, Achane, Cooper, McBride, Muth, Dortch, Wilson, Debo, London. Also Lawrence or Purdy. Thank you. Okay, so out of the group, Rachaad White is RB1. Let's see here. You have McBride and Freiermuth. Freiermuth is tight end 1. You have Debo Samuel. Debo Samuel's wide receiver 1. Garrett Wilson is wide receiver 2. No, you actually have other. Wait, hold on. Wait. Okay. So you have. Let me check this real quick. You have Garrett Wilson. You have Coop. Okay. And then who was the other option you had there? You have Dortch. Okay. So yeah, of the group, Debo, Wilson are the 1-2 at wide receiver. Rachaad White and Ford are the 1-2 at running back. I would end up playing McBride as the tight end, and I would end up flexing Achane and Dortch there. Thank you very much, Evan. As for Lawrence and Purdy, in a 4-point per passing touchdown league, I'd probably end up, I have Lawrence just slightly ahead of Purdy. I could, if in fact we get to a reality in which Trevor Lawrence gets 2, let's say, for example, this is the week where Travis Etienne scores 2 rushing touchdowns and we get no rushing upside from a guy like Trevor Lawrence, I still think he's just as safe of an option and just as solid of an option as Brock Purdy in this circumstance. So I'm confident with him over him. Thank you. All right, let's scroll down. We had a question that came in from Fabian. Fabian says, I had Schultz, Brevin Jordan, or Conklin. I have Brevin Jordan on screen as my number 12. I didn't expect to have Brevin Jordan there, but dude, that matchup is just everyone has played well against them. So let's hope that Brevin Jordan gets his opportunities. Rockout has a question who says, full PPR, 1 flex, Javonte Williams, McLaurin, or Reed. Between those 3, Javonte or McLaurin, full PPR. Control F, McLaurin. I have McLaurin at 45. I have Javonte at 41. So I play Javonte Williams there. Thank you. Luke C says, why Montgomery over Ramondre? Hollywood over Deontay Johnson PPR. Hollywood over Deontay in a full PPR. Yeah, that's solid. I don't mind that. He'll get himself a pretty solid, share of opportunity. They're going to be throwing for majority of the game. As to why I trust Montgomery over Ramondre in a half PPR scoring format, I just don't know what to expect out of Bailey Zappi. When you change the quarterback, I understand that Bailey Zappi's came into these last couple games and played like 20%, 10% of the overall snaps. Like if we get a week in which Bailey Zappi's just throwing picks off the rip and it's in rain, like it could just be a disaster in which they're just stacking the box against Ramondre. Now, in comparison to the David Montgomery experience here, I know David Montgomery's going to score a touchdown. I can already assume that he's going to get himself 6 points of an influx there that I have no question about. Everything on top of it, in terms of the half PPR capacity, at least I know that there's not going to be as much of a separation for Ramondre to exceed the limit of what's it called, David Montgomery's potential. Because in a full PPR, I do have Stevenson ahead of Montgomery. It's just that in the half PPR, it allows the gap to just lean in the direction of Montgomery just slightly. Bob France says, pick one tight end, 2 flex, full PPR. We have Marquise Brown, AJ Dillon, David Njoku, McBride. 1 tight end, 2 flex. Yeah, I end up playing Njoku, McBride, and Brown. Under the assumption that Brown plays, yeah, Brown, Njoku, Bride there, Bob France. Thank you, Bob. Cardiac Johnson with another question says, is it worth holding Jonathan Taylor with 3 to 5 week recovery? All right, let's just put this into perspective, right? Assuming they don't send him to the injured reserve, okay? If they don't send him to the injured reserve, that means that he'll probably be returning sooner rather than later. He's already been out since Monday. I think that's when the surgery, Tuesday morning, he had the surgery on his thumb. So if he's going to be out, let's say, for example, 3 more weeks, and they're like, yeah, we don't want to put him on injured reserve because if we put him on injured reserve, he has to miss 4 games minimum. Let's say he's out 3 more weeks. So we have not this week's not included. So let's say this is not even into an account. Week 14, 15, and 16, he misses. He can come back in the championship week 17. If you have an IR spot, I don't mind holding him there. I do not mind it at all. Because again, this isn't like a ankle injury. This isn't like a hamstring injury. This is just a thumb injury. As soon as he's healthy and is cleared, he's back to being Jonathan Taylor. Thank you. Alex sends in another question. Says, Eckler, Kyron Williams, Cup, pick 2 full PPR. I'd probably end up playing both running backs. I don't really want to play Cup in that circumstance. Thank you. Dejuan Golden says, Mixon or Rice full PPR? Good luck and thanks, Goat. Appreciate it. So between the two, I'd play Rashee Rice over Mixon. Thank you. Momo says, 12-team full PPR, 2 flex options. Start 2 between Dell, Ayuk, Swift, and Hall. In a full PPR, if I'm starting 2 of the 4, I end up playing Ayuk and Dell there. Thank you. Current lineup is Tua, Kamara, White, Tyreek, CeeDee Lamb, McBride. Also have Purdy. Yeah, you're fine starting either of the 2, but I do prefer Tua at the moment. And I would suggest, I'd go with both the wide receivers if Ayuk and Dell there. Thank you. Anthony C says, PPR, Collins or Singletary? Thanks. If I'm not mistaken, I have Nico Collins ahead of him in a full PPR. Let me confirm this. Yes, I have Nico Collins ahead of Devin Singletary this week in a full PPR. Thank you. Moving on to a question from Chris Moraga, who says, half PPR, Pickens or Chris Godwin? Need upside. I had Pickens ahead of Godwin. If in fact Godwin ends up missing. Let me think about this. My assumption is that Godwin has a chance to play. That's the report that I read earlier this morning. It said that he will give it a shot. If he plays, I'd rather play him in a half PPR in comparison to George Pickens as of right now. Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, let's see here. We're scrolling. We had a couple more questions that were sent in. Thank you again for those of you guys who have sent in super chats. Greatly appreciate it. Really quickly, as I'm trying to figure out where I am in terms of my placeholder, a couple reminders. For those of you who are joining us this morning, welcome. Good morning. Hope you guys are doing well in this wonderful week 13 of the 2023 fantasy football season. Again, a couple reminders. The rankings on screen are updated as of this morning. These are not Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday rankings. These are Sunday morning rankings, up to date. Half PPR for these positions, 4 point per passing touchdown. Additionally, we have kicker and defensive rankings. It goes as such. Boom, here you go. If you haven't yet already, click the like button down below. Greatly appreciate it. For those of you guys who are Patreon subscribers or supporters, rankings have already been posted, so you can find flex rankings there for a half PPR, full PPR. For those of you who have signed up via Underdog Fantasy using code Andrew, making that first time deposit minimum of $10 since August 1st, 2023 till yesterday prior to midnight. Those rankings were sent this morning. Be sure to check your spam folder of the email that is associated with your Underdog account. If it's not in your main inbox, of course, the spam folder, it should be there. Thank you very much. Greatly appreciate it. Outside of that, let's get into answering some more questions. If you guys are going to send in questions or type it in the chat, do me a solid. Mention scoring format. Definitely makes my life a lot easier in these circumstances. Thank you. Let's see here. Where are we at? Scrolling down. Fabian says, LOL, did he answer my question? I'm fairly certain I did, Fabian, unless the bug attacked me. Fabian's question was, I got Gibbs, Pacheco, Stevenson. Should I start Jalen Warren? That's your new question. But where's your earlier question? Your earlier question was Brevin Jordan or Conklin. I suggested playing Brevin Jordan because he's ranked higher on screen. Did you have another question outside of that? No. So you have a new one. Okay, let's get to the new question there, Fabian. We're going to get to it in just a moment. I have a couple more prior to you, but yeah, let's get to it in just a moment. So we had a question that came in from, after Chris, we had a question that came from Joshua MCC, who says Pacheco, Devontae Smith, Puka Nacua, half PPR flex. It's between Pacheco and Devontae Smith. Let me see. Pacheco is my number 23. Devontae Smith's my number 30. I take in a half PPR, Isaiah Pacheco. Again, do not forget, Jerick McKinnon is out today, guys. David Garcia with the question says, pick two, Dell, Ridley, Henry. Assuming it's a half PPR scoring format in this circumstance, I'd end up playing Ridley and Henry most likely. Where do I have Dell? Dell's ahead of Ridley. Never mind. So I'd go with Ridley and Henry. Ridley, Henry, half PPR. Boom. Thank you. Moving on to a question that came in from Joe Buddha, who says, Hollywood or Dotson? I'll take Hollywood if he's playing today. Thank you. Moving on. Let's scroll down here. Jimmy in the chat says, what's up, Andrew? Browning or Levis? I need upside. Interesting. So as of right now, Will Levis, I have Jake Browning ranked ahead of him. So that's my current suggestion. You want upside? Like, are you down 40 points? Do you need Will Levis to go for 50? Like, if that's what we're looking for, then sure, we can potentially roll in that direction. But I do have Jake Browning ahead of him as of right now. That's my new one, bro. Okay, yeah, we'll get to it in a moment here. Where's your question? So Fabian says, I got Gibbs, Pacheco, Stevenson. Should I start Jalen Warren over one of them? No, I wouldn't. I have them all ranked higher in a full PPR. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, so after David Garcia's question, after Joe's question, we had Jack R. Jack says, hey, Andrew, thoughts on trading Puka Nacua and getting Breece Hall? My running backs are Brian Robinson Jr. and Joe Mixon. My receivers are Evans, AJ Downs, and Kirk. Yeah, I don't mind the trade at all. Considering your running back depth and the ability to not be able to really start mixing going forward at a consistent basis, I don't mind the trade. Thank you. We had a question that came in from Superfish. Thank you very much, Superfish. Says, non-PPR, start two, Dell, Nico, Ridley. Dell, Nico, Ridley. Yeah, it'd be Dell and Ridley there. Start three between Kyren Williams, Kamara, Bijan, Achane. Very easily, play Kyren, Kamara, Bijan, sit Achane. The final question, start Jalen Hurts or CJ Stroud. I'm always playing Jalen Hurts there. Thank you. Moving on to Henny Zock, 77LP, says, full PPR, two wide receivers, two running backs, two flex. Have Harris, Henry. Okay, you have Harris, Henry, Allen, Pittman, Ayuk, Kyren Williams, Mostert, Collins, Olave, Samuel. Appreciate the help. Okay, so you have so of the available options, let's just go first and foremost. Wide receivers, Keenan Allen, Michael Pittman Jr. Those are my highest ranked full PPR wide receivers. As for running backs, Derrick Henry, Kyren Williams. Boom, boom. As for two flex options, I have Olave and probably it's either Curtis Samuel or Mostert. Let me see who I have ranked higher. Full PPR. Not Curtis Samuel, Debo Samuel. I'm assuming did they say Debo or does it just say Samuel? I'm going to assume it's Debo and not Curtis. Okay? Assuming it is Debo, it would be, assuming it's Debo, he would play as the other flex. If it's not Debo, I play Mostert. So again, Allen, Pittman, Henry, Williams, Olave, Debo, or Olave, Mostert. Thank you. Moving on. Next question we have came in from, we took care of that. Dan Sek. Thank you very much, Dan. It says PPR, pick 3, Olave, Deontay Johnson, Dell, Puka. Yeah, I'll take Olave, I'll take Dell, and I'll take Puka there. Thank you. Appreciate it. Tristan Edlund says, half PPR, 1 point per first down, Achane or Deontay Johnson. 1 point per first down. I don't even know if Achane is going to... I mean, the beautiful thing about Achane is that he pretty much averages a first down per carry this season. So that's the nice part. But let's see. Where do I have him ranked in comparison? Ooh, that's not what I wanted to do. I accidentally closed my YouTube tab. So of the bunch, I think this is the way I'm going with it. Our defensive rankings. Yeah, let's open that up on screen. Thank you. Sorry about that, guys. Tristan, I'm willing to take the risk of playing Achane there. I'm willing to take the risk. Understand that Deontay Johnson's probably in a full PPR point per first down. He's definitely like 12 plus points easily. Probably more. Yeah, in the point per first down, dude, hold up. Let me pull up first down success rates real quick. Let me just see what Deontay Johnson looks like, because I don't even know the context of that just yet. If I go receiving, last week, how many first downs did he have? He had 2. The week before that, 2, 1, 5, 6, 3, 2. So if he's only going to get like 2 extra points, if he's going to be Deontay Johnson's the safer player, objectively. He probably gets himself 12 points today. If you're looking for the risk of the upside, Achane's probably the play. I don't mind running. Oh, it's a half PPR. Yeah, I just play Achane there. Yeah. Sorry, I thought it was a full PPR on top of the point for first down. Apologies, Tristan. That's my fault. Read it wrong. Yeah, I'll take Achane there, just objectively. Thank you. YYC in the chat said, hey, Andrew, desperate game. Flex Singletary or Jamar Chase? If it's a half PPR, I'd probably end up playing Singletary there. Justin in the chat says, Tank Dell or Rachaad White full PPR? I'd rather play Rachaad White there. Somersault says, good morning, good morning, everyone. Who benched DK Metcalf? We suck. Yeah, DK Metcalf, I mean, he played godly, right? I think I had him like wide receiver 16 on Wednesday. He played, I mean, that's a career day. Like, I don't know if I'll ever see DK Metcalf put up more points than what he did, on Thursday. That was a crazy performance. Tomas in the chat says, choose 2 PPR. Tank, Dell, Kyron Williams, Eckler. I'll take both running backs there. Thank you, man. Let's see here. Where are we at? Scrolling down. Okay, we took care of defensive rankings. You're good to go there. Awesome. We had a question that came in from Paul Shepard. Paul, thank you very much. Appreciate it, man. Paul's question is, would drop Kyle Pitts for Juwan Johnson? ? I have 4 players on bye, so no other options. Would I drop Kyle Pitts for Juwan Johnson? I think Juwan Johnson's like maybe a 1 to 2 week fill-in at tight end. I don't know if he's a guy that I'm trusting for the remainder of the season in comparison to Kyle Pitts. Like, I have Kyle Pitts ranked where I have him at 13 in comparison to Juwan Johnson. I just trust playing Juwan Johnson. If it's me, you're like, hey, I need to win this week so that I can get one step closer to making the playoffs. Like, you haven't already secured a playoff position. I'd make the switch there, because I just don't trust Kyle Pitts. It's not even that I don't trust Kyle Pitts. I don't trust Desmond Ridder, first and foremost, and then I don't trust Arthur Smith. And then after that, I don't trust Kyle Pitts. It's like it rolls down the hill, unfortunately, in his direction. Des316 says, full PPR, Dortch, London, Antonio Gibson, sit 1. If I'm sitting one of the 3 in a full PPR scoring format, I probably end up sitting Antonio Gibson there. I think London and Dortch very easily could get more receptions than Antonio Gibson. If Gibson scores a touchdown, which again, it's very rare that he does, he could probably outscore both of them, but I don't think this is the week in which it takes place. But hey, you never know. Bruce J. Wilson in the chat was saying, do I start Greg Dortch over Noah Brown today? Yeah, I'd play Greg Dortch there. Okay, cool. Thank you very much. Moving on, we had a question that came from Patrick Morris, who says, opponent had DK and Charbonnet. Need a boom play, AJ Dillon or Garrett Wilson, half PPR. Oh, goodness. I was going to say originally that Garrett Wilson's the player that I would rather play this week. I think the boom play is AJ Dillon in hopes that he scores 2 touchdowns. Like that's literally it. I think that's probably the go about it. Like if you're just looking for like the upside play, I think you hope that Dillon can put together a monster game. Thank you. Ivan says, do or die for me this week? Full PPR, double flex, start 2, Nico, Ridley, Singletary. Full PPR, I'd probably end up playing both the receivers, Nico and Ridley there. Oh, you have more options. You have Warren as well. Okay. So in this circumstance, you have Nico, Ridley, Singletary, Warren, Deontay Johnson. I would end up playing Ridley and Warren. Ivan, thank you. Ridley and Warren as the 2 flexes. Thank you very much. Moving on to Luis Estrada, who says, good morning. Start 2, Kupp, Nakua, Downs. Kupp and Nakua. Fired him up. Thank you very much. Achane or Henry, full PPR, Henry. Dan Sex says, follow up, Olave, Puka, Warren, flex. Thanks, bro. Dan, I got to find a reminder. Are you in a half or full PPR? It's a full PPR. Yeah, so as for the follow-up, I'd take Olave there, Dan. Primarily because, yeah, it's a full PPR scoring for me. He just has the greatest advantage amongst the bunch. Olave. It would go Olave, Warren, and Puka in that order. Thanks, man. Okay, we had a question that came in from, after Luis Estrada, we had Nico. Nico, thank you very much. Nico, I'd love to pronounce your last name, but I don't think I'd be able to. If you were to pronounce it once, I'd have it. Right? After that, that's it. I just have to hear it, and then I'll know. That's typically how it works, especially with like the Albert Okwuegbunams or, Chigoziem Okonkwo's. These names that people have a difficulty pronouncing, I just hear it once and I'm good to go. The advantage of being bilingual. All right, so Nico says PPR, 2 wide receivers, 1 flex. Chase, Garrett Wilson, Nico Collins, Terry McLaurin, Devon Achane, Breece Hall. So you got a lot of options here. As for the wide receivers that I would end up starting in a full PPR scoring format, if it's okay, so Nico Collins is the number 1. It's between Chase and Terry as the number 2. I have Chase ahead of Terry as my number 2. So it'd go Chase and Nico as the 1-2 combo there. And then for the flex, I would probably end up playing either Terry or Hall. I have Hall ahead of him. I'd go with Hall there. Nico, Chase, Hall. Thank you, Nico. Mr. Tres Cero Cinco says, full point per reception. I got McBride in my flex, but he's worrying me with the injury, and Pittsburgh are tough against the tight end position. Can I swap him out for upside Christian Watson or Deontay Johnson? You can. I mean, you absolutely could. Do I trust it? Look, in a full PPR capacity, considering that Trey McBride, let me see here. Where is the injury report? I think he was at like a pretty good capacity. Yeah, he was limited capacity Thursday and Friday. Like, I'm not even worried about him. We already got like an indication that he's playing today, so I think he's probably going to be fine. I think they were just being cautious with him, primarily. Do I trust Christian Watson or Deontay Johnson more in a full PPR? No. If I was going to play one of the two ahead of him, it would only be Deontay Johnson. I think Christian Watson would need a touchdown to be able to eclipse the performance. Like, I think McBride could very easily get himself 7 catches for 70 today. So, and I don't think that there'll be as much upside in regards to a full PPR in comparison to the other receivers. So, if it's me, I'd play McBride. If you want, you could technically swap to the others. Of the two, I'd prefer Deontay. Thank you. We had a question that came in from Jay Schilling. Jay, thank you very much. Jay says, in a full PPR, Kyler or Sam, Goff or Purdy? I'll take Purdy over Goff. I'll take Sam over Kyler. Thank you very much, Jay. Have a good one, man. We had a question in the chat who says, Thielen or Tank Dell? I'll take Tank Dell there. We had a question from Jerry in the chat who says, safest running back, Connor, Singletary, Javonte Williams, Brian Robinson Jr. Safest running back of the 4 is Brian Robinson, I think. Technically, the safest running back, the guy that has been most consistent over the course of this entire season, it's Brian Robinson Jr. Jordan Rivera in the chat was saying, "Hi Andrew, thoughts on taking the under on passing yards for both Boyle and Ritter due to the weather?" I don't mind that. That's not bad at all. That's not bad at all. Nas in the chat says, half PPR, Cup, Garrett Wilson, Josh Downs. I'll take Cup there. Superfish with a follow-up question says, why do you trust A. Smith when it comes to Bijan? Oh, it's because the last 2 weeks of production. So it specifically, like I mentioned on Tuesday's running back episode, Superfish, weeks 8 and 9, the running opportunity that Bijan Robinson was given, 22 total rushing attempts in 2 weeks. Okay. The last 2 games that Bijan Robinson has played, week 10 and 12, 38 rushing attempts. He has nearly doubled his overall rushing opportunity over the course of the last 2 games. On top of it, when they get down into the red zone, no longer are we seeing Tyler Algier come into the game. Bijan Robinson is staying within the lineup. He is scoring rushing touchdowns. He's getting a lot of utilization down in the red zone because, of course, amongst all the running backs that they have, he is the most talented and most versatile because, again, last week, screen pass went to the house, scored a receiving touchdown and a rushing touchdown. 3 touchdowns in the last 2 games. In comparison to earlier this season, it wasn't really a viable option in those kind of capacities. He went a very long time without scoring a rushing touchdown. So in regards to why do I trust Arthur Smith in regards to Bijan, it's because he's already proven to me that, hey, and here's the thing about Arthur Smith on top of it. He is not afraid of running the ball. Passing the ball has always been his issue. And that's why we've pretty much always complained about Drake London and Kyle Pitts over the course of the last couple seasons. He's always been committed to the run. Even going back to the days in which he helped Derrick Henry get for 2,000 rushing yards as the offensive coordinator there. He's always been committed to the run. And now that he's kind of shown his hand, like, hey, I'm bought in on Bijan being the RB1. We're going to give him 20 touches a game. Like, I'm all in on that, especially against the Jets who can't stop the run. And in a weather game, I mean, it just makes it even more rushing attempts going in his direction. Greg sends in a question, says, I need 2 PPR, Ridley, Garrett Wilson, Hollywood, Downs. Ridley is the player that I'd like to play amongst the bunch. If Hollywood ends up going today, I'd play him. Otherwise, you pivot to Downs if Hollywood doesn't go. Thank you. Let's see here. Najee or Thielen in a half PPR says ZZZZ. I would go with Najee there. That's just a question in the chat. Logan or Taysom Hill PPR? I'd probably go with Taysom Hill. Sorry, I'd probably go with Logan Thomas PPR. Let me check. Yeah, in a PPR scoring format, whoever asked that question, let me see. Where is it in the chat? Retro Junks. In a full PPR, I have Logan Thomas ahead of Taysom Hill this week. Thanks for the question. Get Knowledge says PPR. I need a win this week for the. I need a flex. Breece Hall, David Montgomery, Devon Achane. Yeah, between the 3 of them, I'd much rather play David Montgomery. Just far more consistency of production, far more touchdown upside. Austin Eckler and Alvin Kamara are my starters. Follow up to the prior question. Got it. Thank you very much. Get Knowledge. I would go with David Montgomery there. Appreciate it, man. Arturo in the chat. Arturo Martinez says Higgins or Dortch. I'd take Dortch there. Minshew or Carr from No Fear. I'd take Carr there, especially with Olave playing today. Terry R sends in a question. Thank you very much, Terry. He says, I see you have Dell and Smith over Chase. Why? Jake Browning. That's it. Jake Browning. Thank you very much. Duncan Kelly says, Brian Robinson or Deontay Johnson full PPR. Brian Robinson or Deontay Johnson? Fairly certain. Let's see here. Brian Robinson. Yeah, I have Brian Robinson as my number 58 in the flex, full PPR. Deontay Johnson, 59. Just one spot ahead of him. Yeah, so Brian Robinson will be my suggestion there. You got to pretty much, I mean, he'll get himself rushing work for sure. He'll get himself receptions here and there, probably like 3 or 4, especially with the game script on hand today. On top of that, has a higher likelihood of a touchdown in my mind. Thank you. Let's see here. Where are we going? We had a question that came in from Run CMC. Run CMC's question is, please, 1 running back, 1 flex. Gibbs, Ramondre, Achane, Puka. 1 running back, 1 flex. I'm playing Ramondre and I'm playing Gibbs there. Thank you very much, Run CMC. Appreciate it. We had a question that came in from Duncan Kelly. We took care of that one. Thank you, Duncan, again. Logan sends in a question, says full PPR. I have Dell, Tyreek Hill, Evans, Pittman. I don't understand. Full PPR, I have Dell, Tyreek Hill, Evans, Pittman. Start them all? How many are we starting, Logan? Let me see if you had any follow-ups to that, Logan. Full PPR, Dell, Tyreek Hill. Okay. How many are we starting? Logan Amicone. Do me a favor. Let me know how many are you available to start. How many can you start this week? After I get context of that, then I'll be able to just, because obviously you know you're playing Tyreek Hill. You're probably playing Mike Evans, especially if Godwin misses, and you're probably playing Michael Pittman Jr. So if you're starting 3 of the 4, that's the way I go. I go Hill, Evans, Pittman, Dell. So I think regardless of how many you're starting, that ranking should just give you context as to where you should go. Thank you, Logan. Arturo Martinez says, let's see here. Arturo says Higgins or Dortch. Yeah, 100% playing Dortch there. 100%. I don't trust Jake Browning as much as I trust like a Kyler Murray being able to support his, premier wide receiver, at least at this point, is number 2. Paul Getz sends in a question, says, I have Zeke. I could pick up Tyjae Spears. I'm thinking Spears rest of the season. Or should I just play Zeke and pick up Spears? I need to drop Zeke. That's a really good question. I mean, look, the reason why I prefer Spears over Zeke is receiving upside purely. I also think that in comparison between the two, I think Spears has more potential for touchdown upside. And I also like the matchup more today. So if they're and on top of it, they're probably going to give the ball to Henry a pretty considerable amount of times, and they always want to keep him fresh, so they'll kind of throw Tyjae Spears into the mix here and there. As of right now, yeah, if it's me, I'd make the swap, because on top of it, I prefer Tyjae Spears not only as a flex option in comparison, but I also prefer him as a handcuff in comparison. Thank you. Any underdog play, says Sag? Yeah. Sam Howell, higher on passing attempts. David Montgomery, anytime touchdown. Michael Pittman, higher on receptions. Those are the 3 that I like. Those are the 3 that I've kind of based the things around. If you want more context to other plays, go and check out the back end of the Hidden Gems video yesterday or the back end of yesterday's live stream. Thank you. Yeah, the my favorite by far and away, because I see Smooth Criminal Entertainment says any solid player props. Yeah. Again, on Underdog, Sam Howell is at 38.5 passing attempts. He has gone over that number in 8 of the last 9 games. In 6 of the last 6 has gone 42 or more passing attempts. He's playing against the Dolphins. He's going to be in a negative game script. He's going to be throwing the entire game. It is just the solid play of the group. All right, moving on. We had a question that came in from Revis Island Travel. Let's see here. It says, half PPR, pick one. Godwin, Dobbs, Gibson. Worried about Godwin's neck. Yeah, if you're worried about Godwin, his injury, I just play Antonio Gibson there. Thank you. Milo says, greetings and salutations. Full PPR, pick 2 between Kyren Williams, Kamara, Gibson, Moss. Between the 4, I'd play Kamara and I'd play Moss. Thank you. KCB in the chat says, hi, Andrew. Brian Robinson Jr., Mostert, Achane, Thielen, Kirk. Pick 3, running back, wide receiver, flex. Appreciate it. If we're picking 3 of the bunch in a PPR scoring format, it's probably Mostert, Thielen, Kirk, most likely. Could be Mostert, Thielen, Achane, but I think I'd probably just be better play to go with Mostert, Thielen, and Kirk. David Herrera in chat says, have you done Underdog free pick? It ends 8:30 PST. Okay, I have 5 minutes. You're a clutch. That's if it's there for me, I'd be surprised because I take advantage of a lot of the free plays. Oh, it is there. Okay, nice. So, guys, really quickly, let me throw this up on screen. Again, for those of you guys who have an Underdog account, as of right now, let's go ahead and let's go to the screen cap real quick. As of right now, they have a free play. Who said this in the chat? I got to give a shout out because that's clutch right there. David Herrera. David, thank you very much. Free play right here. 0.5 total yards. Justin Herbert. They moved it to 39. You see? You see? I'm telling you, man. They're going to move this number. It's going to keep moving. They moved this number. This thing was at 6.5, man. Okay, anyway. I'll still take the higher on this. What is I'm just going to put like 5 plays together here. Smith. Give me higher on his targets. And then who was the other play that I liked? No, it's not that. What's the other plays that I was going for? David Njoku. Devontae Smith. You see, Evan Ingram. Okay, that could be a good one. I think I'll just run with just 4. Yeah, 4 is not bad. $10 max. 10 for 100. Man, I hate how these numbers moved. It makes it so much harder. I'm not going to get caught here. Actually, you know what? At worst case scenario, he catches 7. I'm not going to be I'm not going to be afraid of it. $10 max. Boom. Send it. Done. Thank you. Thank you, David Herrera, for pointing that out to all of us. We took advantage of it. There's 3 more minutes in which you can take advantage of that. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Moving on. We had a question that came in from after Revis's question. We had Milo. We took care of that. Thank you very much. Kyle Strobel. Kyle, thank you very much. Kyle says, pick 2 in a PPR. Connor, Deontay Johnson, Downs. Connor, Deontay Johnson, Downs. Pick 2, I'd probably play both the wide receivers. I'll take Downs and Deontay Johnson there. Thank you. Spencer sends in a question. Says PPR, flex 1, Swift, Downs, Chase. I'm fairly certain it's going to be Swift. Yeah, it's Swift. Thank you. Cameron Kaplan says Olave update, full PPR, Olave over Devontae Smith. I'm of the belief that I'm pretty sure Olave's playing today. Let me see if there's any updates. Is there anything that we know for? Yeah, I mean, as of 7 hours ago, from Tom Pelissero of the NFL Network, he says Chris Olave listed as questionable, going through concussion protocol, is expected to play today versus the Lions, as confirmation of Ian Rappaport of the NFL Network. So I would assume that these guys that are insiders and know their stuff, they're probably pretty accurate in that. So yes, I would play Olave over Devontae Smith. If you prefer Devontae Smith, I don't have a problem with that. I'd play him as well. I mean, I think they're both great plays. Thank you. All righty. Let's see here. We had a question that came in from Flawless, who says, what's up? Full PPR, Garrett Wilson, Puka Nacua, or Brian Robinson? I'd play Puka there out of the 3. Thank you. We had a question that came in from Psychotic Pat, who says, in a half PPR, pick 2, Olave, healthy, Waddle, Montgomery. I'm fairly certain in a half PPR, I have Waddle and Montgomery ahead of Olave. Let me confirm this really quickly in terms of my flex rankings. Scrolling over, Montgomery is there, Waddle is there, and Olave is there. Yeah, Montgomery and Waddle will be my suggestion, Psychotic Pat. Thank you, man. Appreciate it again. We had a question that came in from, where's this next one? Okay. Yep, we're there. Okay. Jose Alberto, thank you very much. Says Kamara, Montgomery, Kyron Williams, Mostert, and Eckler sit 2. Need upside for the win in a full PPR. In a full PPR scoring format, I'm playing Kamara, I'm playing Kyron Williams, I'm playing Eckler as the 1 through 3. I'm sitting Montgomery and Mostert. I mean, it's a crazy thing, but at this point, the other 2 just have the other 3. Marquise Hollywood-Brown officially active, Keenan Allen active, Treylon Burks active. Kamara, Kyron Williams, Eckler all have the receiving upside that Montgomery and Mostert just don't have. They have touchdown upside, but so do the alternatives. So for right now, Kamara, Kyron, Eckler. Those are my 3 suggestions there. Jose Alberto, thank you, man. Scrolling down, we had a question from Nas, who says, half PPR, Kupp, Garrett Wilson, or Josh Downs. Yeah, I'll take Kupp there again. Thank you very much, Nas. Appreciate it. We had a question from Nathan J, who says, Conklin or Juwan Johnson, full PPR. I have Juwan Johnson ranked higher. Thank you very much. Joe Mama says, why do you have Zach Moss so high? I'm starting Kyron Williams over him right now. Should I change that? The matchup against Tennessee is just ridiculously good. And earlier this season, in the game in which the Colts took on the Tennessee Titans, I mean, Zach Moss went for 165 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns, and 32.5 fantasy points. Like, he had a monster day. And now that, Jonathan Taylor's out, we've seen what Jonathan Taylor's been able to accomplish over the course of the last couple of weeks as the primary back. If you just substitute Moss in his stead, I mean, you go back to weeks 2 through 4 when Moss was the lone back in this backfield, was averaging nearly 17 half PPR fantasy points per game. It's just like, do I trust him significantly more than Kyron Williams? No, not like you have to do this, but I think if I compare the two and how the offenses kind of function and the fact that Zach Moss doesn't have a Royce Freeman behind him, potentially kind of looming for touches, that just leans me slightly in his direction. Thank you. Hopefully that gives you a little bit of clarification, Joe Mama. Let's see here. Stu in the chat said full PPR. I need a wide receiver too. Watson, Pickens, Curtis Samuel, Dortch. In a full PPR, I have Curtis Samuel, I believe, ranked highest of the bunch. Let me check. Full PPR, wide receiver, Curtis Samuel. Yeah, Curtis Samuel is my highest ranked out of Watson, Pickens, Samuel, and Dortch. If I was to give you an order, Stu, it would go Curtis Samuel 1, Dortch 2, Watson 3, Pickens 4. That's the way I would go about it. Thank you, Stu. Appreciate it. Jay Gar says, full PPR, should I start Ridley or Ayuk in the flex? I think they're both fantastic plays. That's why I have them both as a top 12 wide receiver capacity. Between the two of them, I think there's just more consistency of play out of Ridley as a late in comparison to Ayuk, who honestly, there's just so many weapons within that offense. It's difficult for him to compete for a high volume of touches. Like I've mentioned in the last couple of weeks, Christian McCaffrey's had 4 consecutive games of 5 or more receptions, right? Brandon Ayuk hasn't had that level of kind of production because he just doesn't get enough targets within this offense to consistently kind of streamline him to get a higher balance of, production for fantasy purposes. So I'll lean in the direction of Ridley there. But I think Ayuk is a fantastic play, especially considering that matchup. So again, I don't have a problem if you start him either of the two. Let's see here. DMAC 191. Where's your question though? Control F, DMAC. DMAC, there's no question attached to your super chat. Do me a favor, type it in the chat. Thanks, man. Torod Taylor says, Brevin Jordan or Gerald Everett? I have Brevin Jordan just slightly ahead of him, but yes, I'll take Brevin there. Thanks, man. Logan Semple says, hey, Andrew, no questions today. Give this man some likes. Yes, thank you, Logan. Appreciate it. Walter Gregg says Antonio Gibson over 11.5 rushing yards. That could work. What does it say? Ron says over 8 receptions for Keenan Allen could be fired. That's not a bad one. Look, the only thing that concerns me with that, Stevenson over 14.5 carries. That's probably it. I'm going back to the Underdog. Give me a second. Actually, no, I have it open right here. Let me just bring it down. That one's probably it. Ramondre, is he really at 14.5? What's his been? 21 and 20 in the last 2 weeks in terms of rushing upside. Yeah, let's take that. That looks pretty enticing to say the least. Let's see here. And then I wanted to put him with Njoku because I like Njoku going higher than his I'll take him higher on his receiving yards. Let's do that for now. All right. Put that in. Moving on. We had a question that came in from DeAndrea Thompson. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Hope you're doing well. It says full PPR, running back in a flex. Warren, Mostert, Montgomery, Puka, Ridley. In a PPR, the running back that I play out of this bunch is Montgomery. Yeah, I'd play Montgomery as the running back. The question is, would I rather play Mostert or Ridley? I'd probably play Ridley there in a full PPR capacity. Ridley. Yeah. Ridley's the guy. So it'd be Ridley and Mostert. Sorry, Ridley and Montgomery. Apology. DeAndrea, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Montgomery, Ridley. Vaporware sends in a question. Says, I need a wide receiver and an RB. Okay. My extra running backs are, what do we have here? Need a wide receiver and RB. My running backs are, and I can drop Singletary, Pierce, Moss, Keaton Mitchell, 12 I don't understand. I need a wide receiver and RB heavy. The extra earning. Okay, so you have to drop one of these options. You cannot drop Moss. He has to be starting first and foremost. Singletary, Pierce, Keaton, Mitchell. I would drop Pierce. Thank you very much. Appreciate the question, Vapor. Scooting on down, we had a question that came in from Steven C. Steven, where the heck did your question go? Did it get attached? Doesn't seem like it. Steven C. Steven C says, poo. All right. Thank you very much, Steven. Greatly appreciate it. I'll take it. Thank you very much. Appreciate the support. I'm looking for who is the DMAC. Did you end up typing in the chat by any chance? D-Mac says, Kyron Williams or Brian Robinson, non-PPR. Is that Brian Robinson or Bijan Robinson? Guys, please, more context helps. If it's Kyron Williams, Bijan Robinson, I take Bijan. If it's Kyron Williams, Brian Robinson, it's Kyron Williams. Thanks, man. Let's see here. We had a question that came in from Terry R. Terry says, which backup quarterback should I drop? Dobbs or Love? I'd rather drop Dobbs. Steven C., if you have any questions, let me know, man. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. L. Sway sends in a question. Says, Puka Nacua, Christian Kirk, full PPR, Miami or Jaguars defense? I have the Jaguars as my number one defense going into this week. So the Jaguars number one. So I'll take the Jaguars there. As for your question between Puka and Christian Kirk in a full PPR, I'll take Puka there. Thank you very much. So we took care of that. We took care of D-Mac. We took care of that. We took care of Stephen C. John H. with a question. John, where's your question? Here it is. Why don't you have Higgins ranked in the top 36? I have him and Dotson. Your thoughts? Yeah, the primary reason I don't trust the potential of T. Higgins is because I don't trust Jake Browning that much. I think Jake Browning, a solid quarterback. I think he proved that last week, but I don't think he's at the capacity in which he can support two number one wide receivers in that kind of capacity. Like, if Higgins is going to be a top 36 player, I think touchdown has to be implicated within his performance, which I think is very difficult to already assume. So in this circumstance where they'll be stacking the box and forcing him to throw the ball, the fact that Jamar Chase only had 6 targets last week kind of speaks volumes as to where we'll probably end up with Higgins this week. I think he'll need a touchdown or a huge play down the field, which I think this offense is probably going to be more conservative, less deep shots down the field in those circumstances. It just really, without Burrow, everyone takes a huge step downward. And especially in tougher matchups, it doesn't help. All right, let's see here. We had a question that came in from Bernard who says, full PPR, Ridley, Ayuk, Nico, Warren. I'll take Ridley there. If you want to play Ayuk, you can. I think he's the next best out of the bunch, but that's where I would go. Is there anyone that's inactive that wasn't supposed to be? Let me see this. Okay, Chris Olave is active. Tank Dell is active. Yeah, okay, we're good to go. Nothing crazy. Breece Hall's good to go. That's fine. All right, good. Awesome, very much. Very, very, very good. All right, moving on. We had a question that came in from after Bernard. We had Abby Bronner, who says, thank you for everything, especially from a girl we play too. No, of course. Listen, the community, there are so many women that play fantasy football in this community. It is, I mean, people would be surprised. But yes, I greatly appreciate it, Abby. Wilson or Love this week? Yeah, I'll take Russell Wilson. Especially, okay, look, the issue that I have with Jordan Love is that he plays against Kansas City. Typically, Jordan Love can have a perfect, sound game when there isn't a heavy pass rush against him. Like last week, the only pass rush that the Detroit Lions really has is Aiden Hutchinson. And when we look at the Kansas City pass rush, it is significantly better. They're going to get after him. This offensive line will fall apart at times. When we compare the two, especially with Wilson taking on the Texans secondary, and that defense has been giving up a boatload of points, and the fact that he's been averaging over 16 fantasy points per game in the last 5 weeks, and the fact that this defense is nearly allowing 16 fantasy, I think Wilson is just a safer play, and on top of it has the higher upside. Now, if Jordan Love wants to get crazy and start running the ball and rushing, getting rushing yards, rushing touchdowns, great. You got to remember last week, if I'm not mistaken, Wilson had like 11 attempts for 34 and a rushing touchdown. Russell Wilson's going to move. He's the play there. Thank you very much, Abby. Appreciate it. All right, let's see here. Moving on, we had a question that came in from John H., who says, okay, so we took care of John's question. Thank you very much, John. I appreciate it. Moving on to Sad Christ, who says, half PPR, Smith, Olave, Chase, Warren, Swift, pick 3. In a half PPR, if I'm picking 3 of these 5, Warren, sorry, hold on, Chase is the lowest ranked player. Swift is, yeah, so I would probably go with Smith, Olave, Warren. Those are the 3 there, Sad. Thank you. Okay, let's see here. We're good to go. Scrolling down. Mike says Godwin or Greg Dortch. Yeah, I'll take Greg Dortch there. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Moving on to Cooper N., who says Ingram or Njoku. I thought about this for quite a while. Let me go ahead and change my rankings. Sorry. I had kicker and defense up for quite some time there. Hopefully you guys appreciate that. If you have, do me a favor, click the like button down below. Greatly appreciate it. So in regards to the potential of David Njoku versus Evan Ingram, David Njoku has gotten himself so much opportunity as of late in terms of targets. Fantastic. On top of it, he gets Joe Flacco, which only accentuates the opportunity for targets, considering Joe Flacco has a really great track record of helping improve his tight ends production. Now, that all being said, if it wasn't for the fact that Evan Ingram had a very inaccurate pass sent in his direction. Last week, there was a design play, short side of the field, in the red zone, wide open Evan Ingram. Trevor Lawrence just throws it 10 yards over his head. Evan Ingram would have scored his first touchdown last week. The usage of tight end for the Jacksonville Jaguars, they're using a lot of 13 personnel, 1 back, 3 tight ends. The backup tight end last week had himself like 4 or 5 catches. They're getting a lot of utilization out of tight ends. The matchup against the Cincinnati Bengals is so ridiculously advantageous. I'd rather just take Evan Ingram in that circumstance. I think there's going to be a lot of usage from him this week, especially because every single tight end that has played against that defense has played well. But if you want to play Njoku again with Stroud or Lawrence, I'm playing Stroud over Lawrence this week. So here's the thing, Cooper. If you want to start, I think I'm regardless of what tight end you select, I'm still playing Stroud. I think he just has more upside, especially considering he scored 3 rushing touchdowns in the last 5 games. Technically, so has Trevor Lawrence. Look, at this point, I'm playing Stroud. I'm playing Ingram. If you want to play Njoku, you want to stack the 2 Jaguars, you can. That's where I'm going. Thank you. Jesse says, why Puka ranked over Christian Kirk and Garrett Wilson? Garrett Wilson has a rain game. Christian Kirk with Zay Jones in the lineup is only averaging 8.9 half PPR fantasy points per game. I think Puka Nacua, especially with Denzel Ward out, has far more opportunity. He had more targets than Kupp last week. There's a chance that he could even outscore him within this circumstance. But for as of right now, they're going to have to throw the ball. There's no way that this offense functions without throwing the ball. And when they do, of course, Puka's the favorite target as of late. That is why he's ranked above those 2. Thank you. Moving on, we had a question that came in from Nate Nostrom, who says, Marquise Brown or George Pickens? Flex full PPR. I'll take Marquise Brown. Thank you. Enemies Within says, London or Jacoby Myers? Rest of the season, full PPR. London or Jacoby? Let me look at the schedule real quick for the Falcons. The Falcons' upcoming schedule. Tampa Bay, ridiculously advantageous. Yeah, I'll take Jake London rest of the season. Thank you. Okay, where are we at? Enemies Within, we took care of that. Thank you very much, enemies. Appreciate it. And I believe I've caught up in terms of super chats. Perfect. Okay, let me answer some of these questions in the live chat. McBride reported as healthy. Thank you very much, Robert. Appreciate the update. Full PPR, Mostert or Thielen, says Caden. Mostert or Thielen in a full PPR? Let's check here. Mostert is there. Thielen is lower than him. I have Mostert at 31, and I have Thielen at 35 in a full PPR capacity. Any new updates? No, that's it. Cool. Let's see here. Let's scroll down to the very bottom. Justin Tran in the chat was saying, is this full or half PPR list? This is a half PPR list. Thank you for asking for the clarification, just in case, for those of you who are wondering, that is the circumstance. For those of you who are joining us this morning, welcome. Hope you guys are doing well. Again, rankings are all on screen, are updated as of this morning. This is under the assumption that, of course, Chris Godwin is playing, but if in fact he is not, and we get any indication of that, then it'll change. But as of right now, this is the assumption. Have a pivoting option available. Keep in mind that the rankings that are on screen, up to date as of this morning, good to go. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. If you guys have signed up via Patreon and or Underdog Fantasy using code Andrew, first time deposit minimum of $10 prior to last night midnight, and between that time and August 1st, 2023, the rankings will be in the email associated with the Underdog account. So be sure to check that out. Thank you very much. Noah Brown is active. Yep, we knew that. That was predetermined for a couple days ago. But yeah. Thank you very much. Jesse says, Andrew, MetLife rain forecast is to stop when the game starts. Just FYI. Thank you very much, Jesse. I appreciate it. Because when I was looking at the weather report, it says what does it say? 95% chance of rain. Yeah, but it doesn't say how long it'll last for. So we'll see, Jesse. I mean, look, there are some circumstances where rain games, they say it's going to rain, it's going to be horrible, and then all of a sudden as soon as I get off this chair, I walk over to the couch, I turn on Red Zone, I look at the game, I'm like, wait a minute, there's no rain at all, and it doesn't rain for the remainder of the game. It's tough to predict fantasy, much less predict the weather in some of these circumstances, especially when we're talking about specifically over the stadium. Robert S says we trust Jaden Reed tonight. Why not? Noah Brown front the Texans. What do you think? I don't know about that. Terry says Breece Hall or Christian Watson half PPR. Dortch is available. I don't mind playing Breece Hall there. I don't have a problem with that. Justin says half PPR Tank Dell, Olave, Pittman, Debo. In a full PPR, I'd play Pittman, Justin. Okay, let's see here. Okay. Criminal Minds 06 says PPR, sit 1, Cup, Puka, Olave, Pacheco, White, HN. I'm sitting 1, huh? Yeah, I'm sitting HN. I'd rather play White, Pacheco, Olave, and as for Puka and Cup, I could justify sitting 1, but as of right now in a full PPR capacity, I'd rather just play one of them. Thank you. Standard League, Amari Cooper or Brian Robinson Jr. I'd rather play Brian Robinson. Standard League, 0 points per reception. All right, let's see here. Let me scroll down a little bit. We took care of that. Good to go. Awesome. Okay. We had a question that came in from Josh Pippin. Thank you, Josh. It says, flex PPR, Mixon, Kirk, McLaurin. McLaurin is my suggestion. Thank you. Moving on to Cody Shannon, who says, Ayuk or Swift in the flex, full PPR. Ayuk. Thank you very much. Appreciate it, Cody. True Gentleman for You says, LG1, Connor or Jaden Reed. LG2, Devontae Smith, Marquise Brown, Amari Cooper. Yeah, so LG2, for sure, it's Devontae Smith. That is the suggestion. As for LG1, as in League 1, Connor or Jaden Reed. Let's see where I have them in half PPR. I have James Conner there, and I think I have him ahead of Jaden Reed. Yeah, I have James Conner ahead of Jaden Reed in a half PPR, and then the opposite in a full PPR. Jaden Reed over James Conner in a full PPR. Thank you. Morning, can we get defensive rankings? Yes, absolutely. Let me go ahead and change that right now. Boom, there you go. We had a question that came in from Sean Anthony. Sean, thank you very much. Says, I got the Rams defense. Should I grab the Jaguars defense even though I have Mixon starting? Also, wanted to know, is any scenario bad for defense versus best play? No, I don't think so. Look, here's the thing. The defense in terms of fantasy succeeding is completely, like, I understand the logic, right? As a fantasy football player, you don't want to start your defense against your starting player because you're like, I'm rooting for this player, but now I'm also rooting for this defense. I just see it as I'm trying to score the most points possible. In this circumstance, I do believe that the Jaguars are the better defense this week, specifically against Cincinnati's offense, in comparison to the Rams against the Cleveland Browns. So I would suggest playing the Jaguars, even though they're playing against Mixon. I don't really have much trust in Mixon anyway. So I guess maybe you're just play the Jaguars defense. I don't want to string any narrative as to which way you should root for. That's just my primary suggestion. Thank you. We had a question that came in from Jabo. Jabo, where's your question, man? Jabo says, Garrett Wilson, Cup, David Montgomery in the flex. Must win. I have Gibbs as my RB spot. I play David Montgomery as well then. Thank you, Jabo. Appreciate it. PPR, yeah, I'd still play David Montgomery there. Appreciate it. Kiwi Sports Mage says, 2-quarterback league, half PPR, Mixon, Deontay Johnson, Flacco, or Browning. Mixon, Deontay, Flacco, or Browning. In a half PPR, give me... Who do I have ranked higher? I have Jake Browning at number 19 and Flacco at number 20 as my ranking quarterbacks. So I'll take Jake Browning there out of the bunch. In a half, here's the thing. I actually do think that Jake Browning at best maybe scores like 12 fantasy points today. Same thing with Flacco. I think like that's their range. I think the yardage will be there. I just don't know if the touchdowns will be. I think probably Deontay Johnson's the safest play of the bunch. It's probably the direction I lean into towards. I'll just play Deontay Johnson there. Thank you. Actually, no, you know what? Let's just get the safe points. Just give me Jake Browning. Let's not mess around here. He'll throw a couple picks. That's fine, but the yardage will carry him. He'll probably throw for 300 yards. He'll probably break even at like 12, 13 points, especially if he can run a little bit. Let's not get crazy. Let's play the quarterback. Thank you. Okay, we took care of that. We took care of J-Bo. Scrolling down, we had Cody Shannon with another question who says, full PPR at the flex, Ayuk or Gibbs? I'll take Gibbs there. Thank you. Scrolling down, we had John Koziar who says, what do you think about throwing in A.T. Perry in the flex over Godwin in a full PPR? Man, here's the thing about A.T. Perry. I have him ranked as my number 42 wide receiver. I have him behind guys like Higgins, Parker, Downs. Sorry, not Downs. Higgins, Parker, Dobbs, Elijah Moore, Noah Brown, George Pickens. Like those are the guys that you don't see on screen that in a full PPR, I have him behind. Could I start him over Godwin? Sure. Do I trust to do it in a full PPR capacity? I'd rather play Godwin. Thank you. But I don't hate it, but I don't love it in comparison. Let's see here. We had a question that came in from Mike Will, who says PPR, Mixon, Hopkins, Deontay Johnson, need a upside down 30. In a full PPR, it's one of the wide receivers, honestly. Between the two of them, Hopkins and Deontay Johnson, I'd probably just end up playing Deontay Johnson there. Thank you. Lethal Jake says PPR, I have London / Godwin in now with more faith in London, even though he's against the New York Jets. I'm debating shuffling in Reed or Dillon. What do you think? Over Godwin as in? Okay, so you said you have London and Godwin in now. Would I play Reed or Dillon over Godwin? Yes, I'd play both of them over Godwin. In a full PPR, I'd rather just play Reed there. Thank you. Okay, we're good to go. We're good to go. Danny Navarro says, I'm in a non-PPR league. Nico Collins, Sutton. Yeah, I'd rather play Sutton there in a non-PPR. I think he has more touchdown upside in that capacity. Lucid Entertainment says, hey, Andrew, been watching for weeks, but just subscribed. Thank you very much for the subscription. I appreciate it, man. Thank you. Criminal Minds 06 says half PPR, one flex, Godwin, Ingram, Mixon, Pickens. Between the four, I'd rather... let's see who I've ranked highest. I'm fairly certain... Yeah, I have Evan Ingram above the bunch. That's where I go. I go Evan Ingram there. Thank you, Criminal Minds. True Gentleman says... That was supposed to be Devin Singletary, Hollywood Brown, and Amari for League 2. Sorry about it. Okay, let me get to that right now. So let me go back up. True Gentleman. Okay, so your second league was supposed to be... So instead of Devontae Smith, it was supposed to be Mark... Okay. So... Supposed to be Hollywood, Devin Singletary, Amari Cooper. Okay, so between those three, in a... full PPR Marquise and a half PPR Singletary. Standard Singletary. Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay. We had a question that came in from Alejandro Perez. Let me see what it says. It says Curtis Samuel or Kareem Hunt full PPR. 1,000% Curtis Samuel. Thank you. Let's see here. We had that question. We took care of it. Justin Holmes. Where's Justin's question? Holmes. Judy or Pickens, flex. I'll take Judy there. Follow-up question. Hill or Muth at tight end. If it's a half PPR, as it says on screen now, I have Freiermuth ahead of Hill. If it's a full PPR, I'll take Freiermuth over Hill. Only in a standard scoring format would I ever play Hill over Freiermuth this week. Thank you. We'll move on to a question from Patriot Politics, who says, Morning, Andrew. Standard league. Adam Thielen or Rashee Rice or Greg Dortch in the flex. In a standard scoring format, 0 points per reception, Of the three, I probably end up playing Rashi Rice there. Thank you. Okay, where are we at? We had a question from Ignacio Reyes, who says, Tua or Russell Wilson? I'll take Tua there. Thielen or Jaden Reed? I'll take Thielen there. Thank you very much. Tim sends in a question. Tim's question, Tim Autry says, Tim Autry. I think if your last name's Autry, then that's a good one. Full PPR, Hollywood or Javonte? I'm fairly certain I mentioned this earlier. Let me confirm what the heck I have. Javonte. Javonte was my number 41. Marquise my 36. So yeah, I'll take Marquise Brown there. Thank you. Sean Anthony says, that case, bench Mixon for Nico Collins. Yes, please. Thank you. The issue that I have with Mixon is, I mean, that Jacksonville Jaguars defense, I think I mentioned it yesterday throughout the live stream. Let me just give you just a little bit of context, right? Just so you have a little bit of understanding as to why I don't trust them this week. Besides the fact that they're going to stack the box because Jake Browning is like, hey, let's let this backup quarterback beat us with his arm. Like, that's the whole point, right? But outside of that, the running backs against Jacksonville as of late. Singletary, 18 yards. Dameon Pierce, 14 yards. Tyjae Spears, 14. Derrick Henry, 38. Jalen Warren, 19. Najee Harris, 13. Jonathan Taylor, 19. Zach Moss, 21. James Cook, -4. Like, dude, outside of McCaffrey's 95 yards, like, no one else has done much damage on the ground. No one's scoring touchdowns against them either. Anyway, moving on. We had a question that came in from... So yeah, I would play Nico there. Eduardo M says, start 2 running backs. Start 2 RB, wide receiver, flex, half PPR. Olave, Chase, Garrett Wilson, Swift, Bijan, HN. Okay, so at wide receiver, Eduardo, are we starting 2 of each or just 2 running backs? If we're starting 2 of each, it would go Olave, Nico, Bijan, Swift, HN, Chase. That's where it would go. If, for example, we were going with the scenario of which it's 2 running backs, then 1 of wide receiver and flex, then we go Bijan and Swift as the RBs, Olave as the wide receiver, Nico as the flex. Thank you. Moving on to a question that came in from, okay, let's see. Justin Holmes had a follow-up, says, okay, so we took care of that one. Never mind, we're good. So yeah, Muth and Judy, those are my suggestions. Angela Clark says, hey, Andrew, full PPR, I need 2. We have Gibbs, Singletary, Nacua, and Thielen. Grateful for your insights. So yeah, Gibbs has to play. The matchup against the New Orleans Saints is already an advantageous one, on top of the fact that Gibbs on a weekly basis has so much upside in a full PPR scoring format. Like, if he scores a touchdown, Gibbs probably ends up putting up 20 points this week. Like, I think in a full PPR, like 14 points is like the base. As for the alternative options between Singletary, Nacua, and Thielen, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, let's see here. Where's Thielen? I have Thielen ahead of Nacua, and I have him ahead of Singletary as well. So I'd go Thielen there as the alternative secondary flex next to Gibbs. Thank you, Angela. Appreciate it. Scrolling up, let's see here. What are we at? Where are we at? We had a question that came in from Tamir K. Tamir, thank you. It says half PPR. I need some upside. Najee, Brian Robinson, H-Han. I'll take Najee there. Again, I mean, like, it is crazy. Okay, think about it this way, right? Najee Harris has the best matchup at the running back position. The best, by far and away. Okay? It's not even close. And 3 of his last 4 games consist of 69 in a rushing touchdown, 82 in a rushing touchdown, 99 in a rushing touchdown. I would venture to say that there's a very good likelihood that he gets himself 65 in a rushing touchdown today, like just base. Like, I think that's probably in the realm of possibility. In a half PPR, in comparison to Brian Robinson, H-Han, I don't know if they can get that touchdown. Can they get the yardage? Sure, but I don't know if the touchdown's there. And that's just base minimum. Najee could go for 3 touchdowns today for all we know. You know what I mean? Thank you. Let's see here. We had a question that came in from It's Okay to Laugh. Says, Watson or Dylan PPR? Look, here's the thing about Watson. On any given play, the dude could score a touchdown and it's over. Like, his whole week is set in terms of production. In a full PPR, I have Watson at 62. I have A.J. Dillon at 63. Back to back. So I'll take Watson there. Just slightly ahead of the teammate, but yeah, he's there. You know, it's hilarious. Why are so many of you guys asking me about T. Higgins? Like, what do you guys know that I don't? because it don't make sense to me to start him in any sort of capacity. With Jake Browning, like I have him as my, I think I have him as my number 40th ranked wide receiver, but like, why are you? There's so many of you that are clung onto the idea of playing Higgins. Like, yo, like just let's relax with the Higgins. Let's let Jake Browning first prove himself to be a quarterback that can sustain top 36 wide receiver options besides just Chase, who again only had 6 targets last week. Like slowly, okay? Let's just take it easy here. Baby steps. Let's give it a week. Let's see what he can do. Christian says, do we trust Calvin Ridley? What about Noah Brown? Noah Brown, not as much considering Nico Collins active, but yeah, Calvin Ridley, of course, trust. I mean, again, rankings are on screen. Hopefully you guys can notice that and, of course, take that into account. Roy Powell sends in a question. Roy, thank you. Bench 1, Cup, Chase, Achane, Javonte, full PPR. I probably end up sitting Achane there. Thank you. What does it say? Let's see here. What the heck is this? I don't know whether to ban you or let you go. I'll think about it. I'll let it sit for now. Let me let it marinate. Okay, we had a question that came in from, where art thou? After that one, we had one from Roy Powell. We took care of that. Katie sends in a question, says, good morning. Full PPR, start 1 running back, 2 wide receivers, 1 flex. St. Brown, Samuel, Smith, Cup, Eckler, Pacheco. Okay, so the 1 running back that I would play is Eckler. The wide receivers I would play is St. Brown and Samuel. And the flex I would play is Devontae Smith. Eckler, St. Brown, Samuel, Smith. Thank you. Patriot Politics says, I'm stuck at my RB2, Jeff Wilson Jr. or CH in a standard league. That is pretty tough. Probably Clyde Edwards, I'm going to be honest. Last week in the absence, he had 3 carries for 5 yards. Bruh. It's probably Jeff Wilson. I don't really trust it either because there's Achane returning. Can we get somebody else? Like, is there any other options? Like, I'm going to read names here. Is there a Cordero Patterson available? Is there a Michael Carter? It's a standard league. It's not great. Yeah, no, it's Jeff Wilson. You just play Jeff Wilson there. Patriot Politics. Colin Smith says Chuba Hubbard or Hopkins. Chuba Hubbard or DeAndre Hopkins, full PPR. Fairly certain it's D-Hop. Let me check here. DeAndre Hopkins. Yeah, I have Hopkins at 60 and Chuba at 65. All right, I came up with the idea as to what I wanted to do with this person. Okay, moving on. We had a question that came in from, is that Nathan Williams? I think it's Nathan. Yeah, Nathan Williams question. 1 running back, 1 flex, Gibbs, Moss, Olave, Dell. I play both running backs. Give me Gibbs and Moss there. Thank you. Moving on to a question that came in from Colin Smith. Yeah, we'll take Hopkins there in a full PPR. Stallion Production says wide receivers are Nakua or Collins or Christian Kirk. Between the 3 of those, yeah, I mean, as of right now, I have Collins 1, Nakua 2, and Kirk 3 in that order. Thank you. Moving on, we had a question that came in from Nathan Williams. Zarif says, hope all is well. I have Swift, Montgomery, Najee, Ramondre at my running back. I have Amon-Ra, Olave, Dell at my wide receivers. I need to start 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, and 1 flex. Okay, cool. So the running backs that I would start are Montgomery and Ramondre. The wide receivers I would start are St. Brown and Dell. The flex I would start is Olave. Thank you very much, Zarif. Appreciate it. Shubs says, full PPR, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, 1 flex. Eckler, Moss, Achane, White, Pittman, Dell, Ayuk, and Chase. Eckler and Moss have to start a running back Wait, hold up. Yeah. Do I play Rashad White over? Is this full PPR? Let me check where I have White. I think I have White ahead of Eckler in a full PPR. Let me check this real quick. I have Rashad White ahead of Eckler in a full PPR. So I would go with Moss and White as your two running backs. I would play Pittman and Dale as your wide receivers, and I'd play Eckler in the flex. Thank you, Shubs. Appreciate it. Let's see here. Scrolling down. I'm Barl. Let's see here. I'm Barl. Where's your question? Barl, do me a favor, type in the chat. There wasn't anything attached. Can we see defensive ranking? Sure, DJ. 1 second. Must win game half PPR, says Yasef in the chat. He says Downs, Reed, or Hopkins. Half PPR. Again, the rankings on screen are for a half PPR, so I'll let that answer itself. Thank you. Shane sends in a question. Says drop Keaton for Atlanta or keep and roll with the Browns. Drop Keaton Mitchell for Atlanta. If you're in like a must-win week and you're like, hey, I need to try to get the most points possible, then I would make the move. Otherwise, I think Keaton Mitchell, based on his snap counts as of late and the direction of opportunity that has been going in his direction as of late, I want to keep him. So figure it out in terms of what your team needs. If you're in a must-win scenario, like if you don't win this week, you're out of the playoff contention, I'd probably make the swap. Let's see here. We had a question that came in from Noe Meza, who says, half PPR, need one. Dell, Achane, Singletary. I'll take Dell there. Thank you. We had a question that came in from Shane Howard. Yeah. Shane Howard says, hey, Andrew, which defense should I start? Texans, Browns, Fins? As of right now on screen, I have the Fins at number 4. That would be the number 1 defense that I would roll with. And I would play them not only this week, but the week after and the week after that. So weeks 13, 14, and 15, they're pretty solid. So the Dolphins. For roll with Stafford this week, or grab Minshew or Levis, also Chase, Cup, or Johnson. Cup, and I'd probably end up rolling with Minshew there. Minshew, Cup, Fins. Thank you, Shane. Chaos Lord 916 says defense, Dolphins or the Jets. I have the Dolphins ahead of the Jets today. Why Fins ranked high with Howell ranked a lot higher than Ritter? Okay, so here's the thing. Ritter isn't the offense. Bijan's the offense, right? So when Bijan scores, that is completely separate in terms of fantasy points there. On top of it, if you guys remember last week, like Sam Howell had 1 touchdown scored. It was a rushing touchdown. And that's it. That's all he did. He put up 1 touchdown, but he had 300 passing yards. Like the fantasy points that he's going to accumulate does not impact the potential of him getting sacked. He's the most sacked quarterback in the National Football League. His potential for turnovers, and of course, his individual production as a quarterback, who of course is completely separate from the production, because again, you're not playing in a league in which your defense is, oh, if you allow 500 yards, you lose points. It's just points, right? I'm not too worried about that. Teddy H says Nico Collins, Najee Harris, Javonte Williams, Singletary. Of the group, I have Nico Collins ranked the highest. The second highest would be Najee. Yeah, that would be it. That's the 1-2 if you have an opportunity to take 2 of them potentially. Let's see here. Where are we at? Shane Howard says also, Andrew, PPR London or Dotson? In a PPR scoring format, I'd probably still play London because I know he's the number 1 of his offense and he doesn't have to compete with Terry McLaurin or Antonio Gibson, Logan Thomas, and Curtis Samuel. All right, so I was looking for I'm Barl. Did you send in a question by any chance? Because there's nothing still yet. Barl, nothing from Barl. Okay, Barl. I'll be waiting for a question later, but either way, keep it moving. Let's see here. Cam Levesque sends in a question. Says start 3. We have Hall, Moss, Mostert, Achane, Warren. Moss, Mostert, Warren. Thank you, Cam. Appreciate it. Justin in the chat says DeAndre Swift, Puka Nacua, Cortland Sutton, half PPR. I'm fairly certain I have Sutton ranked the highest. Let me check in a half PPR. I have Cortland Sutton ranked the highest. Ridley or Mostert, depends on scoring format. Half PPR Mostert, full PPR Ridley. bench Cup for Deontay Johnson or Marquise Brown? You could, but I wouldn't suggest it. Let's see here. Ao Burt says Hall or Olave, half PPR, Olave. Okay, so after Cam Levesque, we had Jordy Peasy, who says, is AJ Dillon really the move over Pickens, half PPR? Yeah. I mean, at least I know that AJ Dillon's going to get 15 touches. Like if in fact, let's say for example, George Pickens does what he normally does, gets 4 or 5 catches, like there's no guarantee that those catches are going to be the most valuable ones. There's no guarantee that it's deep targets down the field. There's no guarantee that it's end zone targets, red zone opportunities. Like that's the issue in comparison to AJ Dillon, who without Aaron Jones, for sure is the goal line back, is for sure the receiving back, and is for sure going to get himself probably 15 plus rushing attempts. Let's see here. Moving on from Jordy Peasy's question, we have one from Iron Barrel. Okay, Iron Barrel just sent in another one. Got it. You could have just typed in the chat, but I got you either way. Iron Barrel says, I got Josh Allen and Purdy, McCaffrey, Montgomery, Rashad White. Wow, good team. Should I accept the trade for DeAndre Swift for Rashad White and Purdy? Oh, damn, that's... Okay, let me see here. My initial instinct is yes, because you're going to start Josh Allen for the remainder of the season after this week, right? The question is, what does the rest of the season schedule look like for Tampa Bay? Fantasy playoffs is Green Bay, Jacksonville, and New Orleans. And then Eagles schedule. I really like DeAndre Swift's rest of season schedule. Fantasy playoffs, Seattle, Giants, Cardinals. I'll take DeAndre Swift there. I'll take the trade. Thank you, Iron Barrel. Dior Kev sends in a question. Dior, thank you. PPR pick 1, Cup, Nico Sutton. Appreciate you. I'm fairly certain in a full PPR. Let's check here. Yeah, I still have Sutton ahead of Cup. I thought about changing it and moving up Cup slightly. I trust Cortland Sutton. Thank you. Jeremy Park says full PPR, sit 1, Montgomery, Dell, Ridley. I don't want to sit Montgomery, but I think it might be the right answer. That's the issue. Where do I have Monty? So technically, in a full PPR scoring format, I have Dell and Ridley ranked higher than Montgomery. Boom, done. Thank you. Appreciate the support. We had a question from Eduardo M. Let me go ahead and change rankings to quarterback and tight end for those of you guys who are looking for that. Eduardo M says bench is Garrett Wilson, Keaton Mitchell, D'Ernest Johnson, London, Ferguson, started McBride, forgot to swap him for Ferg. Do I drop anyone for Colts defense / other defense? I have San Francisco this week. If you have ETN, then sure, you have to keep D'Ernest Johnson for tomorrow. Outside of that, I wouldn't drop anybody. I would just roll with San Francisco today because I don't want to lose any of those other guys. Thank you. All right, let's see here. Mike 009 says Singletary or Williams. I'm fairly certain Singletary is 20 and Williams is 17 on screen. Thank you. Bilbo Baggins in the chat says, howdy, sir. Must win week. What order do I play Singletary, Ford, McBride, McLaurin in a full PPR? In a full PPR this week, I'm fairly certain. What is it? Singletary. Let me copy paste this real quick. Singletary, Ford, McLaurin, F1, and McBride, right? So let's go check here. Full PPR, Singletary, okay. McLaurin, okay. McBride, okay. And Ford. So the order goes number 1, McBride, number 2, McLaurin, number 3, Ford, number 4, Singletary. Thank you, Bilbo, for just typing in the chat. BT sends in a super chat, says weird scoring, non-PPR, 0.5 per first down, pick 2 of 3 for the max upside. I need to outscore someone by 35. Javonte, Brees, or Downs. Yeah, if I'm just looking for ultimate upside in a non-PPR, it's Javonte and Brees Hall. The running backs are going to get more touches. They're going to have more opportunity, and they always have the ability to just break one out. That's the ones that I'm going with. Thank you. Toby Sexton says, Zeke or Mingo or Elijah Moore. I would go Elijah Moore there. Rusty Wright says half PPR, need a safe floor. Prefer Puka Nacua or Chase? Safer floor between the two is Chase. Thank you. Moving on to Justin, who says, who do I sit, Puka or Cup? For Deontay, I don't want to start both of the Rams receivers. I don't know if I'm... Oh, man. I wouldn't suggest sitting either. So for right now... Yeah, for right now, I just am going to sit in a position to where I'd say if you're going to sit one, you sit Puka. That's the only thing I could say at this point. Bailey Zappi or Joe Flacco says Gilbert Rodriguez. I have Flacco ranked higher. Lim07 says AJ Dillon, Puka Nacua, Deontay Johnson. Pick one for the flex. Assuming it's a half PPR, I probably just play Puka there. Yeah. Rob Zen. Oh, wait. Let's see here, Rob. Oop, that's not what I wanted to do. Let's go here. F3, Rob Zen. Rob, there wasn't anything attached to your message. Do me a favor and type it in the live chat. Thanks, man. Okay, so moving on, we have Nick Danger. Where's Nick Danger? Nick, there wasn't anything attached to your super chat either. Just type in the chat, man. I'll get to it right now. Thank you. Ryan Haley says, pick two, Javonte, Puka, DeAndre Hopkins. I'll take Javonte and Puka. Thank you. Debo or Breece Hall? Debo. Got Stevenson and Achane in. Would you flex Javonte, Ford, or Josh Downs? Javonte. Let's see here. Is Juwan Johnson really a better play than Chigozimo Okonkwo in a full PPR? I mean, look, the thing about Chigozimo Okonkwo, last time against Indianapolis, had a pretty good share of targets. Last couple weeks, he's had a couple good receptions. I just don't see any touchdown upside there at all. And when we're talking about the tight end position, we need to have a tight end that at least is going to get red zone utilization. Otherwise, what's the point of even starting him? If you're just going to get yourself 6 points, like at least, like I'd rather have 4 points than 6 with the potential of getting 10 with that 4-point player. You know what I mean? Which I don't think Juwan Johnson's at. I think Juwan Johnson has probably higher upside in terms of receptions and receiving yards today as well. Let's see here. Scrolling down, we had a question that came in from Xanthius Sutton, who says, who should I start in a standard league? Well, you didn't mention anybody. Xanthius, do I gotta control F this? Xanthius. Yeah, okay, here it is. Should I play, 3 running backs, 3 wide receivers. I have Moss, Gibbs, Harris, Dell, Kirk, Thielen, Puka. Okay, so if we're picking, the rankings of these players are pretty much on screen, right? So Moss, Gibbs, Harris in that order, Dell, Puka, Thielen, Kirk in that order. So set it as such. Whatever you end up deciding, if you're going 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers in a flex, it would go Moss, Gibbs, Dell, Puka, and then Harris in the flex. Okay, thank you, Xanthius. All right, so I'm looking for Rob Zen's question, and I'm looking for Rob Zen says, hey, Andrew, full PPR. I need 2 running backs, 1 wide receiver, 1 flex. White, Mostert, Hall, Dell, McLaurin. Okay, 2 running backs, White and Mostert. 1 wide receiver, Dell. If it's between McLaurin and Hall in a full PPR, I'm fairly certain I'm going Hall there. Yeah, I'm going Hall there. Thank you. Moving on to a question that came in from Nick Danger. Got to find the question. Let's see. Danger says, Andrew, okay, I appreciate that, Nick. Thank you for the compliment. I appreciate that. Half PPR, Christian Watson, Greg Dortch, or Taysom Hill? Wow, that's a tough one. It's okay. So here's the thing. Considering Christian Watson and the rankings between Taysom, him, and dude, they're so close. I probably end up playing Taysom out of the 3 in a half PPR. Thank you, Nick. Appreciate it. It's high risk, but between the 3, like, I think, actually, no, you changed your question. Okay, so there's a different question. It says Christian Watson, Kareem Hunt. Okay, got it. So there's an extra context to it. So, yeah, I don't want to play Kareem Hunt there. If it's between Taysom Hill, Christian Watson, and Dortch, like, I'm thinking it's between Watson and Hill as to like, okay, who's going to get the touchdown? If I'm going to predict it between the two, I'd probably just rather play Taysom there in hopes that they, of course, give him more utilization on the ground, which is expected. So yeah, that's the direction I'm leaning in right now. PPR Juwan over Taysom. I fairly certain. Let me check. PPR Juwan. No, I don't even have Juwan over Taysom in a full PPR. Rowett in the chat says, I have Dak, Christian McCaffrey, Mondre, Olave, Ridley, McBride, Deontay, Stroud, and Higgins on the bench. Any suggestions to improve Deontay Johnson, Higgins PPR? Question mark. Maybe trade for Collins. Yeah, you should trade away CJ Stroud. That's my primary suggestion. You're going to play Dak for the remainder of the year. You should trade away CJ Stroud as soon as possible for a stud wide receiver. Thank you. The Matt Capper sent in a super chat. Thank you, Matt Capper. Says, bad weather affects Herbert / Keenan Allen. It's possible. I don't have a live look of the Gillette Stadium, but I would assume that, like, in some of these circumstances, like Keenan Allen, you kind of have to start him unless you have an alternative option that's like just as highly ranked. I'd have a hard time sitting them. AJ Wright sends in a question. Says, pick 2: Olave, Ridley, Montgomery, half PPR. Ridley and Montgomery are my suggestions there. 1-2. Thank you. We had a question that came in from Martine members. Love the work. Pick 3. I don't know what your scoring format is, but let's say it's half PPR. You have Puka, Rashi, Brian Robinson, Javonte Williams, Chase, Pacheco. Pacheco number 1. Pacheco number 1. I'd probably go Pacheco, Javonte, and Puka there, Martine. Let's see here. X Orlando Vega says, full PPR, Ridley, Jalen Warren, Tank Dell, pick 2. I play both wide receivers there. Thank you. I'm going to change the tight end rankings to kicker and defense on screen just so you guys have the context. Thank you very much. Let's see here. We had a question in the chat. It says Howell, Goff, or Kyler. The rankings that were on screen has Howell as the highest. There's K-Mac, sorry. Haram, I got you with the defensive rankings. There you go. Hey, Andrew, standard league. I got Debo, Mike Evans, and Tank Dell. Pick 2. If I'm picking 2 of if I'm picking 2 of the 3, I'm picking Mike Evans and Tank Dell there. Yeah, I think they're all. All 3 of them have proven to be good plays. But those are the 2 that I prefer as right now. Chase or Javonte, full PPR flex. I have a hard time not playing Javonte there. Amari Cooper or Chase in a standard. Standard 0 point per reception. Yeah, I'd probably end up just playing Amari. I think the safest option is just to play Chase. Let's give Amari a week in that circumstance. We had a question that came in from Colin Smith. It says PPR must win. Watson, London, Elijah Moore. Yeah, in a full PPR. Yeah, I think I'm still slightly taking Watson over the bunch there. Sutton or Chase? I'll take Sutton there in a full PPR. Lucid Entertainment says, hey, Andrew, standard league. I got Debo, Mike. Yeah, we took care of that one. Good to go. Defense rankings are on screen. Boom, that's good to go. Colin Smith, we took care of you. Jay sends in a question. Jay says, half PPR. Pick 2, please. Taysom Hill, Pat Fryermuth, Tyler Boyd, Kareem Hunt. Yeah, give me Tate. Assuming that's Taysom Hill and not Tyreek Hill. But either way, I'll take whoever T Hill is and Pat Fryermuth over Boyd and Hunt. Thank you. Justin in the chat says, with their matchups and defensive injuries, Goff or Kyler? I still prefer slightly Kyler over Goff. If you want to play Goff, be my guest. I don't have no problem. You have to understand, like, the rankings at quarterback, the difference between Goff and Kyler is literally less than a point in terms of my projections model. So, like, the difference is so minimal. If you just trust your gut and you're like, hey, I want to go with Goff, go with Goff. I don't have a problem with it. I'm just here to give you the representation as to if it was my team, what I would do. That's all I'm presenting, guys. Hey, Andrew, would you start Gibbs or Olave in the flex? Gibbs. Brees Hall or Ramondre in the standard? Ramondre, 100%. Gibbs, Brees Hall is irrelevant in a standard format. It's irrelevant. Ramondre, on the other hand, monster. Little Boy Blue sends in a question. Says, should I stash Houston or Eagles defense for the playoffs? Let me just open up my Excel sheet with the schedule. Let me see where it is. Rest of season schedule. Houston, rest of season. Let's see. Fantasy playoffs. Tennessee, Cleveland, Tennessee. That's pretty good. And then we have the Eagles with Seattle, New York, and Arizona. I don't like the idea of playing New England. Yeah, look, I like the Eagles in week 16. I don't love the Eagles in weeks 15 and 17. So if I was going to pick one of the two defenses, I'd probably end up picking Houston's. Thank you. Little boy blue, appreciate it, man. I hope you're doing well. Let's see here. Where are we at? We had a question that came in from El Blue Demon. It says, Etienne has questionable rib injury and has a game on Monday. Should I sit and start Swift and Gibbs and play Rice as my flex? I have Mahomes as my quarterback, starting Hill, Ayuk as my wide receivers. So here's my suggestion, El Blue Demon. You should 100% leave your flex spot open. Either play Travis Etienne there tomorrow or D'Ernest Johnson, his backup running back. Assuming if, in fact, we get to tomorrow and out of completely nowhere, there's a possibility in which Travis Etienne does not play. It's very unlikely that takes place. But as of right now, my suggestion would be put Travis Etienne in the flex. Pick up D'Ernest Johnson as a handcuff potential backup. Okay? Thank you. That's the best way to go about it. Deontay Johnson or Jerome Ford? I'll take Jerome Ford there. Pick two. What does it say? Owen says, start 2 PPR. Devontae Smith, Najee Harris, Singletary. Devontae Smith and Najee Harris for sure there. Thank you. We had a question that came in from the Mad Capper. Says, follow-up. Sit changes for... sit charges for Minshew, Kyler, Puka? I'm so confused. What is this prior question that you're following up on that you're saying? Okay, hold up, wait. The Mad Capper. So you want to sit the Chargers quarterback for Minshew, Kyler, or Puka? Is that what you're asking? Like, is it super flex league? Oh, I understand what you're saying. Okay, so would I sit Herbert for Minshew or Kyler? No, I wouldn't. I'd still play Herbert this weekend. Today. If you want to play Kyler, you can. I mean, that's the next highest ranked player, but that's totally up to you. You're the final decision maker of your team, of course. Someone in the chat said Mixon or Mostert. Again, the rankings on screen should give you a designation as to where I would go. I have Mostert significantly higher ranked than Mixon. Thank you. Jared Helmer in the chat says half PPR, Ayuk, Olave, Smith, Christian McCaffrey, Ramondre, Montgomery, 1 FLE, 1 flex. I'm so confused. I don't understand. What am I supposed to do here, Jared? Am I supposed to set the lineup? 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, 1 flex? Let me know in the chat, man. Because I don't know the context because it's just, there's no info. TC says, would you sit either Henry, Kamara, Gibbs, or Rachaad White for HN in the standard? No. I'd start them all over HN. Thank you. Reuven Roberts says, hey, Drew, full PPR and non-PPR, Dortch or Amari Cooper? In a full PPR, Dortch, and a non-PPR, Cooper. Dirtbag Forever says, if Godwin plays, would he be over Noah Brown? Yes. He's on screen already. Noah Brown's not on screen. Highlights 2.0 says, I have Mahomes and Stroud, full PPR week 13. I have Mahomes ahead. Again, rankings are on screen, guys. Jennifer Anderson says, start 2, half PPR, Downs, Reed, Garrett Wilson, Javonte Williams, Jerome Ford. Yeah, so in a half PPR, I'm going to play both the running backs. I would suggest playing Javonte Williams and Jerome Ford there. Thank you, Jennifer. Josh sends in a question. Says, hey, Andrew, with Noah Brown being activated, do we flex him over Jaylen Warren? Nope. Already have Nico Collins as my wide receiver too. Thanks, buddy. Yeah, you should keep Jaylen Warren as your flex there. Thank you, man. The PR, what does it say? PSR Studios says, hey, Andrew, start 2 full PPR. Tank Dell, Collins, Ridley, and Ayuk. If I'm starting 2 out of this bunch, it's Dell and Ridley. Number 3 would be Ayuk. Number 4 would be Collins. Thank you. In the chat, someone asked Ramondre or Puka full PPR. I'll take Ramondre there. Singletary or Godwin full PPR. Probably Singletary for now. Sean says full PPR. I have ETN in. Should I play Montgomery, Swift, considering ETN is questionable on Monday? No. I would rather play, let's say, for example, it's between like Swift or ETN / D'Ernest Johnson. I would rather play Dernish Johnson if I knew he was a starter over DeAndre Swift today. So I am 100% confident in waiting for ETN playing Montgomery today there, Sean. Whose question was I looking for again? I was looking for context from Jared Helmer. Jared Helmer says one flex. So is it two running backs? Says sit. I need to sit one. Got it. Okay. Sounds good, Jared. So if we're sitting one of this group, Ayuk, Olave, Smith. Okay, so Ramondre and Montgomery are the two running backs I want to play. Christian McCaffrey. Oh, actually, you have Christian McCaffrey. I'm sitting Smith. Out of the group, Jared, I'm sitting Smith. Thank you very much. Let's see here. We had a question that came in from Grit, who says half PPR, pick 5. We have Chase, Dell, Montgomery, ETN, Achane, Devon Smith. Cool. Picking 5 of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I would play. I'm sitting Chase. I'm starting everyone else. Thank you, Grit. Singletary or Godwin? Yeah, I think we answered this. It's Singletary, right? Yeah. Bolster says, I put my question in the chat. Heart. Bolster says, I have Amon-Ra and Goff stack, but I also have Purdy. I know you have him higher this week. I need your opinion. Yeah, I would play Purdy. The matchup against the Eagles, I mean, I think this is going to be a high scoring game. I think it'll be very similar to what we saw last week between the Buffalo Bills and the Eagles. I think this is going to be a little bit of a shootout here. So, yeah, I'd like to play Purdy there, Bolster. Evo ED3 says, full PPR, 1 running back, 1 wide receiver, 1 flex, Ford, Achane, Kirk, Smith, Hollywood. Okay, 1 running back, Ford or Achane, I'm going to play Ford. 1 wide receiver, I'm playing Smith. 1 flex, I'm playing Hollywood. Thank you. Okay. We're good to go. Boom. Hollywood or Christian Watson? I'd rather play Hollywood there. Jalen Warren or Singletary? I'd rather play Jalen Warren there. Cup, Swift, Downs? I'd rather play Cup there, Roy. Good to go. Okay, cool. Namikaze says, full PPR, 2 flex options. We have Ford, Cooper, and Marquise Brown, and also Dortch. Okay, Marquise Brown, and do I play Ford over Dortch? Let me check here real quick. Ford is ahead of him, yeah. So Ford and Marquise Brown will be the 1-2 there. Namikaze. D says half PPR, Ridley or Montgomery? David Montgomery. D, thank you. Huck Brooks says wide receiver 2, Puka or Christian Watson? I'll take Puka there. If you need Omega upside, like you played against DK Metcalf and and CeeDee Lamb, and you're like, brother, I'm in trouble, then yeah, I would play Christian Watson as the Hail Mary, hope he scores a 50-yard touchdown kind of play. But for right now, I go Puka. And flex Achane or Ford? Thanks. Yeah, I'd rather just play Ford there. I think the offense will be far. Look, the reason why they're playing Flacco, and the reason why I think Flacco gives them such a huge advantage as an offense in comparison to having DTR out there, they can't just stack the box anymore. DTR was a liability in terms of a passer. Let's just put it out there, right? In comparison to Joe Flacco, who truly will be able to move the ball as a check down king. So he's going to move the ball. It'll open up the running game. And honestly, I don't really fear the defense of the Rams. And I'm a Rams fan, and I don't really fear their defense as a whole. I think as of late, they've had a couple good breaks in the direction. And I don't really want to put too much stock into the game which they had last week. They ran the ball well, yes, but throwing the ball this week against, it's going to be an interesting game. Anyway, moving on. We had a question that came from Choco, who says, CJ Stroud or Puka Nacua? I'll take 2. Sorry. CJ Stroud or Tua I almost said Tua Napuka. CJ Stroud or Tua Tagovailoa? I'd rather play Tua. Pick 3 wide receivers: Ayuk, Thielen, Cooper, Hollywood. Of the group, I would play Ayuk, Thielen, and Hollywood. Thank you, Choco. Howard Lynn, thank you very much, says, start 2 half PPR, Ridley, Debo, Wilson, and Nico. Yeah, if I'm starting 2, Howard, it's Ridley and it's Debo there. Thank you. Marcos Rivera says, Aubrey or Hopkins rest of season? Aubrey. He has not missed a field goal to date. Salvador Hernandez says, full PPR, choose between these 2 lineups: Purdy, Debo, AJ Brown, or CJ Stroud, Dell, AJ Brown / Debo. I don't know if there's really I don't see the lineup 2. Salvador, lineup 2. Thank you. Alrighty. Damon Anthony says pick 2 standard. Cup, Nakua, Cooper, Dell, Pittman. Yeah, I'll take Dell and I'll take Pittman there, Damon. Appreciate it. Okay. Let me just okay. Where are we at here? Twisted Folk says PPR Tank or Nico. I'd rather play Tank there. Concerns with Calf? I don't really have any concerns. I mean, look, the fact that the organization and Tank Dell have both individually come out and said that they're not worried about the injury, that's all I really need to hear. Okay, so Salvador Hernandez says pick my lineup. Yeah, lineup 2. That's what we're going with. Lineup 2. Torn between Mahomes and Stroud. Angel, play what your gut feeling tells you, man. Cubes in the chat says Moster, Ramondre, Collins. Standard league. I'd go with Ramondre there. Scrolling down. Montgomery, Swift, Ridley. Probably play Monty. Mostert or Javonte? Mostert. Would you start Purdy or Howell? Purdy. 3 points per completion? Yeah, that's even better for Purdy. The dude is a completion machine. Cash Kid Cardi says, we firing up Achane or waiting a week? It depends on what you have. Like, again, I have Achane ranked as my number, 22 ranked running back. Like, I think there are so many better alternative options in comparison to a running back who is going to be limited probably in his return. Like, the guy hasn't participated in a full healthy practice of like full expansion where he wasn't limited in any sort of stint in the last 2 weeks. Like, that doesn't give me too much confidence. Someone asked the kicker question. I think they asked Hopkins or Moody. Hopkins or Moody. Moody I have at 7. I have Hopkins at 12. Mostert or Cup PPR. Let me check what I have ranked higher. Mostert or Cup. Where we have these guys. I have Cup. I have Mostert ahead of Cup. Thank you. We had a question that came in from Tamir, who says standard Pitts, Jawan, Everett, or Higbee. I have Jawan Johnson ranked the highest. DeAndre Warren says choose 3 PPR: Gibbs, Monty, Najee, or Tank Dell. Gibbs, Monty, and Dell play. Thank you. All right, so we have Fryermuth or Njoku question from Luke. I'll take Njoku there. HN or Kyron Williams, standard Kyron. Let's see here. Christian Ramos says half PPR, Downs, Hall, Singletary, or Ford sit 1. If I'm sitting 1.5 PPR, it's the wide receiver. I'd sit Downs there. FRS says, who would you start, Purdy or Howell? Purdy. Alrighty, let's see here. We had a question that came in from Matthew Wallace. Matthew, thank you very much. Says Atlanta or Miami defense today? I have Atlanta as my number 2 defense. Miami is my number 4. Highest upside, I think, is a higher likelihood of it. Yeah, honestly, I do think that Atlanta is the higher upside. Special teams and defensive wise. Thanks, Doug. Appreciate it, man. Jorge Perez with a question in the chat. Let's see here. Where is Jorge's question? Control F. Nope. Jorge Perez question is as such. Morning. Full PPR. 1 running back, 1 wide receiver, 1 flex. We have Etienne, Mixon, McLaurin, Puka, Cup. Starters. Okay, cool. So, of the available that you have, Ernest Johnson is available for pickup. Can drop Addison. Yeah, if push comes to shove, which I don't think it will, then you can establish that tomorrow. But for right now, Etienne is your RB1, Cup as your wide receiver, and Puka as your flex. Thank you there. Appreciate it, Jorge Perez. Let's see here. We had a question from Steven Loya, who says, SOS, is that strength of schedule, or is that SOS as in send help? Half PPR, Devin Singletary or Devon Achane? Yeah, I have Singletary ahead of him. on screen, number 20 to number 22. Listen, hey, if you prefer to play Achane, play him. Like, I understand you don't have to convince me. You don't have to explain it to me. Like, I understand I'm 100% aware of what Devon Achane is capable of. There's a reason why 2 weeks ago I had him as a top 12 ranked running back coming off of his injury. I got unlucky. He got hurt again in that game, obviously, but like, I understand what he's capable of, but I'm also very much so hesitant because I just want to be very careful with the potential of him being limited in his usage. Okay, let's see here. Cash Kid says Puka or Chase in a standard. In a standard league, I'd probably play Chase there. Should I start Jalen Warren or Derrick Henry? I have Derrick Henry ranked higher. Carr or Murray? I have Murray ranked higher. All right, scrolling back down, we have another question from Frank Grillo. Frank, thank you. Says Ridley, Dell, Hall, London, Singletary. I need a running back and wide receiver in flex. Okay, got it. So running back out of the bunch: Ridley, Dell, Hall, London, Singletary. Hall is the running back. Dell is the wide receiver. Ridley's the flex. Thank you, Frank. Let's see here. Okay, so we had a question from Gabriel Martin, who says pick one, standard, scoring. Michael Pittman Jr., Sutton, Singletary. If I'm starting one of the three, it would probably be Michael Pittman Jr. there. Thank you. We had a question from Bugra 19? Bugra Bay 19? Yeah. Or Bagral Bay 19. Says full PPR Superflex, Jaden Reed or Joe Flacco. That's a really good one. If it's my team, I play Joe Flacco. Thank you. Sunny BTV says half PPR, flex, Jaden Reed, Brown or Cooper. Sorry, not Cup. Cooper. I play Marquise Brown there. Sunny BTV. Thank you. Browns or Jets defense? I'm fairly certain the rankings on screen have the Jets defense ahead. Thank you. Rest of the season, Mitchell, Foreman, or Madison? If that's Keaton Mitchell, I'd rather have Keaton Mitchell on my team. Matthew says full PPR, Montgomery, Olave, or McBride. I'd probably end up playing Olave there. Rowett says, Rowett, I answered this question a while ago. I don't know why you keep spamming it. Trade Stroud. Get him off your team. That's how you improve your roster. You already have Dak. You're not going to need two quarterbacks rest of the season. You're not playing a super flex. Let's see here. We had a question that came in from DK, who says, what is Mostert's edge ahead of Warren for you? Just the effectiveness of the offense, purely. Like, I know that Mostert's probably going to get himself 15 touches, but I know that this offense, especially considering they're taking on, look, this is what I'm thinking, right? Like, this offense is probably going to score early and often against that secondary with Waddle, Tyreek. Once they've gone ahead and established that lead, it's just a matter of them running the ball. Like they did last week, like they did the week before. They'll run the ball with Mostert in the second half a lot, and when they do, that's where his value will come in. And anytime they get near the goal line, I'm assuming he'll be the primary back in that instance. So that's my primary edge for one over the other. Now, if we're talking about a full PPR, 100%, I could 100% say, yeah, I'm willing to play with Warren there because I know he'll get more receptions and that'll close the gap. But in a half PPR, that's the edge for now. Just Get It Done says pick two running backs, two wide receivers, and a flex. Okay. PPR. We have Gibbs, Hall, Robinson, and Stevenson. Yeah, so out of those four, assuming Robinson is not Bijan and it's Brian, because if it's Bijan, you know you're starting him because of the rankings on screen. I go Stevenson and Gibbs, assuming it's Brian Robinson. Wide receivers, Collins, Evans, Ridley. I'd go with Evans and Ridley as your two wide receivers. As for your flex, I'd go with Collins there. Thank you. Where are we at? Purdy or Stroud? Again, the rankings are on screen in 2 seconds. Boom, there you go. Stash Packers defense, yes. Achane or Hall? Full PPR. I have Hall ranked higher. Pittman over Ridley because of consistency or matchup? In a full PPR, both. Let's see here. We had a question that came in from Hamaz sent in a question. Let's see here. Hamaz, where's your question? Sorry. It's Hamza. Hamza says Montgomery or Nico. I'll take Montgomery there. Hamza, thank you. Mike Robles. Where's your question, Mike? Let's see if I can find it. Robles. Mike Robles says, can only start 2, Derrick Henry, Olave, Cup, Mostert, Puka. Derrick Henry and Olave. Mike, thank you. Question from Matt says, flex, Mixon, Chase, or Cup? I will take Cup out of the group. Thank you. We had a question from Luis Castillo who says, full PPR, swap out Nico Collins or DeAndre Swift for Najee Harris. My other wide receivers are Hill, Amon-Ra. My other running back is ETN. I would play Najee Harris over Swift. That's what I would do, but you don't have to. Why are the Browns defense not in the top 12? Because I don't expect them to play like a top 12 defense today. Jorge Perez sends in a question. Let's see, where's Jorge question? Jorge Perez says, full PPR, picked up Muth, have Goddard. Is he out today? Yes, he's out today. Play Muth. Thank you. Choco sends in a question. Says, lost Schultz. Should I pick up Brevin Jordan or Otten? I prefer Kate Otten today. Thank you. Let's see here. We had a question that came in from Brennan who says, need upside. Play DK. We have start 4, half PPR. Collins, Puka, Achane, Rashi, Kirk. For context, starting Strata quarterback and Kyle Williams at running back. Okay, so if we need upside, right? Pure upside. Of these players that you would play, I would suggest playing Collins, Rice, Achane, Puka Nacua. Thank you. Bad Sport says PPR, Javonte Williams or Tank Dell? Tank Dell. Thank you. Jared sends in a question. It says, tight end position haunts my my boss team. Everett or Tanner Hudson? Tanner Hudson's fine, but the issue is that last week Jake Browning was only targeting tight ends. He targeted 4 different tight ends, and they all had receptions within that offense. I'm worried that those other tight ends start to dig into the workload of Tanner Hudson. I'll take Everett there. Thank you. We're good to go. We caught up there. Eddie sends in a question. Says, full PPR, Ramondre, Mostert, Moss. Rest of season, I have JT. Rest of season question, if we're talking about those 3 running backs in specific, it's Moss. That's the back I would rather have rest of season. I'd rather have Moss over Ramondre and Mostert rest of season. If it's today, it's still Moss, but yes, thank you. Thank you, Dan. Appreciate it. Okay, Frank Nitty says, okay, so you know the answer to that question. It's on screen. You're good to go. C-Max says, LOL was going to ask about Goddard. You meet me too, and Andrew. Yeah, no problem. Fryermuth or Ingram, half PPR. Ranking on screen has Ingram higher. Thank you. Puka or Achane, full PPR. I think I have Puka ahead of him in a half. I have Puka ahead of him in a full and Achane ahead in a half in standard. Tank Dell or Rashad White in the flex. I'd rather go Rashad White there. Olave, Devontae Smith, or Dell. Again, I'd probably just play Olave and Dell there. If you want to play somebody else, you can. I'm just giving you guys my suggestions. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. If you guys haven't yet already, do me a solid. Click the like button down below. Help us get to 700 likes before the end of today's live stream. Got 10 more minutes of answering questions. Moss or Achane? It's Moss. Let's see here. Standard, Cup, Hopkins, or Garrett Wilson. I'd take a Cup there. Full PPR, Montgomery or Olave. I'm pretty sure I said Olave earlier, Nicholas, but maybe it wasn't your question. It was probably somebody else's question, but either way, yeah, I would go with Olave there. Thank you. Why Debo over Ayuk? Rushing upside. Debo Samuel scored a rushing touchdown 2 of the last 3 games. The ability to have the rushing touchdown upside there in comparison to Ayuk, who has just as much receiving touchdown upside as Debo does, that gives him the slight advantage. Just slight, but yeah, just there. Training effects is matchup and gut feeling. Tight end says Fryermuth or Taysom Hill. I know rankings, but can Fryermuth get targets against Arizona? I don't see why not, especially with the new offensive coordinator. I have Waddle, Tank Dell, and Olave. I'm going to choose Olave even though he's ranked low. Yeah, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. Listen, you guys don't have to justify anything to me. You guys play what you want to play. You guys play what you believe is going to, end up being the best. I'm just here to just help you out to the best of my ability. I don't have 100% accuracy. That is a fact. No one has 100% accuracy. But I do a lot of research and I try to do my best in terms of giving you guys the best overall plays. And if it pans out, it does. Great, fantastic. I always try to give it the best advice I possibly can. Liam says, Andrew, in my league with high scoring defenses, try to decide between Miami and Atlanta. You're playing a league where you have high scoring defenses. I think it's just, I just rather play a defense against Tim Boyle. I think that's just what it comes down to at the moment. So I play Atlanta there. Like if you have a league where you're getting like 4 points per sack, something crazy of that extent, I'm playing Miami because I know that they're going to sack him like 6 times today. So just keep that in mind. Javonte, Garrett Wilson, or Achane full PPR. I probably play Javonte there. Kamikaze says, hey Andrew, play Muth or Taysom Hill. I'm already starting Deontay Johnson. I mean, again, I'm going to suggest Muth unless it's a standard league. Let's hear. Ali says, full PPR, Watson, Godwin, and Laporta, pick 2. I play Laporta, and I play Watson there. Flacco starting. Does Moore get more targets? He should, yes. Waleed says, good morning, Andrew. I'm sitting Garrett Wilson and flexing Javonte Williams and Singletary. Am I making a mistake? No. I think you're perfectly fine there. That's what I would do. David Wong says Bijan may score 3 touchdowns today. I'm planning on it. Trust me, David. I'm planning on it. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate that, man. Thank you. I'm a Niners fan, and we're playing the Eagles on my birthday. Hey, happy birthday, Mark. Hope you're doing well, man. Hopefully your birthday gift could be a nice dub, huh? Josh Downs legacy game incoming. Hey, listen, that would be fantastic. I'd love to see it. But hey, even though he gets a lot of targets, a lot of those aren't the most accurate because of Minshew. James says, must be frustrating addressing every Achane question. It's not frustrating. I understand the logic, though. Like, 100% I understand it. Because we know what he's capable of. Like, let's say, for example, if Achane came out today and scored 35 points, would I be surprised? Absolutely not. Like, that's what kind of a player he is proven to be. But at the moment, I just don't know if that's the player that we're going to get, like the healthy version of him, you know? Rough Time says 0.25 PPR, PPRU. So is that point per rush? Yeah, it is point per rush. Okay, half point per reception. Dylan Thielen. And okay, so first question. Under the assumption, I need to do a little bit of calculation difference here. In a half PPR, 0.25 per rush. And let's say he did that. In a 0.25 per rush, rough times, I probably end up. Damn, that's not easy. Let me answer this next question after it. Yeah, let me answer the next question. I'll come back real quick. Chiefs or Steelers defense? I have Kyler and McBride. I have, if I'm not mistaken, let me check again. Boom, on screen right now. I have the Steelers at 6, and I have the Chiefs at number 8. So I go with Steelers today. Thank you. Dominique sends it a question. Says, I have half PPR question with Warren or Hall over ETN due to his status. No. Keep ETN in. You're good to go. Make sure you pick up D'Ernest Johnson as a flexible option if in fact ETN is not able to go tomorrow. Also, Miami defense or Jets defense, I have Miami ranked higher. Thank you. Okay, so that has been taken care of. We go back to this 0.25 per rushing attempt. Under the assumption he gets 14 rushing attempts for a third consecutive game, that's 3.5 fantasy points on the table for him. He catches the ball a couple times, half PPR per reception. I would probably play AJ Dillon there, rough times. As for your other question, I'd play Michael Pittman Jr. Thank you, rough times. Appreciate it. Okay. We're almost closing out today's stream. Javonte or Breece? Javonte. Boom. Christian Watson or Mostert? Mostert. Kickers and defense, I believe that's on screen as we speak. I shine. Thank you. What's the difference between Brevin Jordan and Juwan Johnson? Touchdown upside. Thank you. Hey, there's stressed out Gibson or Algier? Yeah, I'd go with Gibson there. Algier's going to get himself rushing attempts. I just don't know if he has touchdown upside. in comparison to if in fact you play in any sort of receiving point per reception kind of format. Gibson's probably in better hands. Cup or Higgins? Cup. Gibson or ETN, please. Both. Please both. Like, what are we doing? If you have to pick one, if you have D'Ernest Johnson, I'm keeping ETN and I roll with him tomorrow. Kamara or Mostert? Kamara. Again, the rankings on screen, Jordan, are for a half PPR. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. What did it say? Amari Cooper, Cup, Singletary? I'd probably go with Cup there. Chill Will sends in a question. Thank you, Chill. Chill Will says Brian Robinson, Swift, Najee Harris, Achane, full PPR. Brian Robinson, Swift, Najee. Out of the 4, I'd go with Najee Harris. Thank you. Wilson or Love? I'd go with Wilson. Again, rankings are on screen. Hill or Muth? PPR, Muth. Hubbard or Dortch? Dortch. Thielen or Chase? Thielen. In a half PPR? No, Chase. In a full PPR? No. Thielen, both scenarios, Thielen, sorry. Real quick, last minute coaching reports say Dalvin Cook will see more uptick. Yeah, I don't really listen, man. Why would a coach come out and give look, here's the thing. Every week we do this, right? Every week somebody comes out and says, hey, this player is being reported to getting more touches this week. Listen, the coaching staff would never come out and give themselves a disadvantage before the game by telling the other team, yeah, we're going to give it to X or Y, or you know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't exist. In all of the reports that we've heard this season, that you guys have come to me this on Sundays and said, hey, Andrew, they're saying this. It just doesn't pan out well for us. So let's just ignore it. Still feeling Dortch over Muth in the flex. Yes. Hector Martinez says Hollywood, Brown, Godwin, Singletary. I'll take Hollywood there, assuming it's like a full PPR. If it's a half PPR, I could justify playing Singletary there, but I'd probably still play Hollywood. Evo ED3 says full PPR, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers in a flex. Okay, Evo. Henry, Ford, Smith, Hollywood, Achane in the flex. Thank you, Evo. We're good to go there. McBride or DeAndre Hopkins in the flex? McBride. Swift or Debo? Debo. Collins, Cup, Achane, full PPR. I'm fairly certain I have Collins ranked highest out of the wide receivers there, and I'd play him over Achane for sure. Hey, Andrew, Joe Mixon or Devin Singletary? Devin Singletary. Thielen or Chase in a half PPR? Thielen. Josh Dobbs, worth keeping on my bench? Yeah, I mean, I believe so, Malcolm. I believe so. Especially with Justin Jefferson coming back next week. James Conner or Jaden Reed full PPR? I'd rather play Jaden Reed there. Start Breece Hall or Jaden Reed? I'd rather play Breece Hall. Josh Downs or Deontay Johnson? Here's the thing about Breece Hall. Even if Dalvin Cook gets more rushing attempts, we know that Breece Hall is going to be the receiving back anyway. But I don't really have a problem with it. And I wouldn't be surprised if they ran the ball more today because it's going to be raining. So either way, Stafford or Mayfield? Mayfield. Downs or Deontay Johnson in a full PPR? In a full PPR, I have Downs higher. Okay, Ford or Hopkins, half PPR? Ford. Mixon, Chase, Thielen in a half PPR. Out of the bunch, it's Thielen. Tyjae Spears or Kareem Hunt? I think I have Kareem Hunt ranked higher on screen, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, thank you. Let's see here. Thank you very much. All right, guys, it's 10 a.m. I appreciate y'all. Good luck. Hopefully, we have ourselves fantastic week 13s. We're hoping for the most, ridiculous high-scoring week of all time. We started off with Thursday being an extremely high-scoring, game. Let's keep the momentum going. I appreciate y'all. Someone just asked Puka or Waddle. Again, you got to play Waddle. There's just no question there. And the rankings on screen. I have Waddle so far ahead of him, it wouldn't even be a question in my mind. Okay, guys. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate y'all. I'll be back tomorrow with waiver wires if we need it. Thank you, everybody, for watching. I'm cueing the music. I'm going to watch some games, and I'll see you guys. Peace.